It's time for Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. For the next 3 hours, it's high school basketball from across the Mountain State. Live from Marshall University, here's your host, Ryan Epling.
Good evening, straight up 9 o'clock here in Huntington. And no, I am not Ryan Epling. So unfortunately, 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Epling is MIA, a little under the weather. So Ryan, if you're listening to us this evening, we hope you're feeling better because from my understanding, he's pretty much at the rock bottom on the feel bad list. You know,
Joe, as they say in some parts of West Virginia, the boy's puny. And he's been puny the last counting today, last 2 weeks. So he's been he's on the injured list, put it that way.
Absolutely. But anyway, we got a full show lined up for you. So as we say, it's the fastest 3 hours in basketball. Of course, Bill, good to have you back with us, Bill Cornwell.
Thank you. I've been kind of in and out myself, doing duties with the high school games and things. So good to be back, and we're going to be talking a lot to some coaches tonight who necessarily didn't have games because, of course, the weather between the cold and the snow hit the state pretty good today and this week, and had a lot of games that are being moved maybe tomorrow, Monday, some even canceled. And of course, we'll go through that when we do the scores.
Absolutely. And a new co-host with us tonight, Brian Sexton. Brian has called into the show a few times reporting on Calvary basketball, Calvary Baptist Academy basketball, and some of the WV Cat games. But welcome to Basketball Friday Night, Brian.
Hey, Joe, it's good to be here. My old buddy Bill Cornwell. Hey, I want to tell you, who'd have thought polar vortex would become a four-letter word in the state of West Virginia?
Well, it was vortex, and then this snow was part of a clipper. I'm tired of weather events have names like that. So
see, the Clippers go and mess up basketball again.
No pun intended.
Well, Brian and I are old friends, as Brian mentioned, and we've worked high school games, football and basketball on and off for years. So it's good to have Brian with us.
And I'm caught in the middle.
You're caught in the middle.
But we'll get through this 3 hours.
10,000 comedians out of work. I got to throw out.
Absolutely. Anyway, we've got a full-packed show lined up for you. We're going to be talking to some of the coaches and athletic directors and some of the folks that work behind the scenes from the WVCAT tonight. And I look forward to that because some of these guys have not been on the show before, and we'll introduce them to high school basketball across the state of West Virginia. And, Bill, the weather, man, I'm telling you what, down I know Fred said down around Tulsa, down the southern end of Wayne County, had no snow. But then you go to the opposite end, the northern part of the state, and they had several inches of snow. I know Marshall University even had to cancel classes today. And, a big difference between, say the western part of the state and the northern part of the state.
It was really, really bad. Of course, it was really bad yesterday. They actually didn't start classes on the Marshall campus till 11 a.m. because of the cold, the temperatures and things. And I know WVU was the same situation in Morgantown. They had delays or cancellations because of that. And today it was kind of a surprising snow here, but the roads are clear in Huntington. They've done a good job getting them cleared, and we had no problem getting here this evening.
I know even back toward Charleston, some of the parking lots were a little slushy where cars parked, normally where the cars drove, had built up enough heat to melt off. And there was a few slushy places on the 4-lane coming down. But for the most part, the Department of Highways have done a great job.
Kudos to them.
Exactly.
Guys, it's bad in Morgantown when WVU students, it's too cold to burn things.
Okay. But anyway, I know, I don't know if you've seen this, but go out and search it. They actually brought the riot squad in because I guess all the students got out sleigh riding and were blocking roads. And it got a little hairy in Morgantown this afternoon, to say the least.
I can imagine University Avenue, that was probably a good sledding area. My experience with it.
Well, you're here for scores, and that's what we're going to do right now. The Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. Bill, take a look at the boys' scores for us.
Well, as we mentioned, it is a bit of an abbreviated scoreboard. We'll let you know what we got. We do have a final. Hedgesville and Greenbrier East played tonight, and Hedgesville gets the win by a score of 42-32. Cameron and Shadyside were to have played, and that has been canceled. Another game that we have a new date on, Pendleton County and Moorfield, that one has been postponed until February 16th. Final here, Woodrow Wilson still playing well. They whipped up on Hampshire County 97-45. Another postponement, Webster County, Braxton County. They will play Monday night. Another postponement, no date given here. Jefferson County and Musselman. Now postponed until tomorrow. Midland Trail, Gilmer County. Another final, St. Albans beats Nitro. The Battle of the Bridge, as they like to say. St. Albans beat Nitro 77-61. Another game that's been postponed till Thursday. Kind of a big game in AA. That's Oak Hill and Bluefield. They were to have played tonight. Also moved to February 16th, Lincoln County and Ripley. Nice battle there between a couple of teams, one AAA and one AA. We have a fourth quarter score. Mingo Central is leading Wayne by a score of 54-49. Here's the final. Winfield beats Herbert Hoover 45-44. And of course, a game we're going to talk quite a bit about. Final last night, big game down at Chapmanville Regional High School. Chapmanville Tigers beat the Logan Wildcats 51-47.
And I'll take the girls over on the girls' scores board side. We only have one score. Only 24 games were on tap for tonight. But the Logan Wildcats knocked off the Lincoln County Panthers by a score of 59-45. Some of those games that we know for sure that has been canceled. Petersburg at Berkeley Springs, that game will be made up, but a date has not been set. It looks like up North Mary and Huskies and Fairmont, I mean, they're next door neighbors, and they postponed till February the 11th. Lincoln was supposed to go to Grafton. That game was postponed till February the 12th, and a game that has moved to tomorrow. Local flavor here in the Valley, Hurricane Redskins will take on the Huntington Highlanders tomorrow. So that's a look at our Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. And let's go right to the phone lines. And joining us now is the voice of WVOW Radio and had the call of that game last night, Chris Kidd. And Chris, man, it was a wild atmosphere in Chapmanville last night.
Yeah, there was one or two people that showed up for the game.
Yeah. You had a seat, and I didn't.
You know, I think we did the worst detriment ever to getting out of school again in Logan County, because I think we proved last night that no matter the conditions, people will make it out if they have to show up for something.
Exactly. And I think they started selling tickets at, 1 o'clock, and by 1:20, most schools had sold out.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was at the school early yesterday morning just, attempting to work out, I'll put it that way. And, people rushed in, and they were sold out within half an hour. I mean, it was an incredible thing to watch. And people were lined up outside at about 4 o'clock and even a little bit sooner, just waiting for the gym to open at 4:30 p.m. And just another testament to how important basketball is in this area, but how much people enjoy basketball in this area. And they were treated to two really good games. The JV game was close, and the varsity game lived up to every last bit of its billing last night. And just an incredible start to what everyone in this area is hoping going to be 3, if not 4 meetings between these two this year.
Of course, Chris, as you guys called the game, I know obviously it was exciting, it was close, but I know even as you call the game and the coaches, they have to remind their kids, and hopefully their kids have some perspective on this. This is just one game. I mean, you're going to play them again in the regular season. You know you're going to face each other in the postseason. You know, you can't get really overdone on one game.
Yeah, and I think Zach Green, the coach of Logan, and even Brad Napper, the coach of Chapmanville, they both kind of alluded to the fact that they weren't going to show their hand completely in this ball game. But I think you did see a lot of the remnants of what's going to be key whenever they meet each other, and whether it be a sectional final or maybe even a state tournament game later on this year. I mean, very physical defense, trying to take away the top scorers, but that really wasn't doing in most of the second half last night. I mean, you saw David Early still get free for his 24 points. Obina Anachile killing. He had 19. 13 of those points came in the third quarter last night. Him and Early just started to trade basket for basket in the third quarter and really pushed that game to another level. I mean, Logan got out to the quick start last night, led early, Then Chapmanville took the lead early in the second quarter and never relinquished it the rest of the game. But Logan stayed within 6 the whole game. That game never saw a lead above 6 points last night, guys. I mean, that's how even these two teams were and how tight this contest was. And I think if you're Logan, maybe you take a little bit more away from that game than Chapmanville might have. And, again, I may be wrong about that, but I think Logan came in there. They lost 5 in a row to Chapmanville over the last 2 years. Chapmanville handled them quite easily in some of those contests. And for Logan to see that they could hang right there with Chapmanville, take them right down to the buzzer, and have a chance to win that game, I'm thinking that will do a little bit more for Logan's confidence. Now, neither team shot particularly well last night. I think the nerves were a big part of that. But if you're Chapmanville on the other side of it, you look at that and say, hey, we didn't play our best game, and we still found a way to win. So I think there's positives on both ends that they were able to come out with last night.
Hey, Chris, Brian Sexton, you guys had a big-time atmosphere, as you mentioned. The game was sold out. And I got to ask you from this perspective, did you see anything from the part of both teams where you mentioned nerves, but how did you think that both teams handled the big-time atmosphere, the big-time pressure of it? Because, again, this is a rivalry game. These schools are 10 minutes apart. They don't like each other down there. How do you think both teams handled the atmosphere last night?
I thought they both did really well with it for the most part. I mean, I know at the end there you saw both sides struggle to make free throws. You know, Andrew Scholl and Devin Collins, who are very reliable free throw shooters for Chapmanville, missed front ends and one-on-ones. David Early missed 1 of 2 down the stretch, and that Logan had a chance to cut it to 1. So obviously there was some nervousness, but I thought that both teams still played very competitively, very tough. Maybe shooting and adrenaline maybe played a little bit into that, which caused both teams to shoot such a poor percentage. But you got to remember, these are two extremely well defensive coach teams. Again, Logan giving up just 49 points per game this season, Chapmanville at 53.1 points per game. And you're talking about the fact that they played against really tough AAA competition from outside the state. So I think that obviously played a part in it too. And the fact that they were able to still compete at a high level in front of that type of an atmosphere, really a state tournament type atmosphere, I think speaks well for both going forward. And I think that'll do a lot for them where they get in front of big atmospheres come sectional, regional, and possibly state tournament time.
Hey, Chris, real quick, our phone lines are stacking up already. But in your perspective, what was the difference in the game last night?
Again, on the defensive side for Chapmanville, again, I think it was Obina Anachili killing. I'm going to have to go back and look and see exactly how many blocks he had in that game. But I counted on 3 separate occasions where Logan had a clear lane to the basket. It looked like they had a layup set to go. And then Obina just came flying out of nowhere. And he tells me, because I teach at Chapmanville, and he's in one of my classes, and he told me he times that up on purpose. He'll purposely bait people into getting towards the rim because he knows how to time his jump and time that block. And there were times where Hatfield had a lane, Lambert had a lane, and a couple others, and he was able to just come in and swat the ball away. And I think that really took a little bit away from Logan's momentum trying to attack on the inside. And you saw Logan start to settle for more outside shots, and they just weren't able to convert. But on the other hand, for Chapmanville, I think there were times where they struggled with some of the quickness of Logan at guard and even some of the bigness of some of their guards, like with Early and company, because Chapmanville's guards had a struggle getting going. I mean, Andrew Scholl had a nice game with 12 points, hit some great mid-range shots. But without Obina in that game, I'm not sure if Chapmanville's able to sustain Logan's charge there, because the guard play from Chapmanville, you didn't see as much production in some of those offensive sets. But at the same time, Chapmanville's guards did an equally great job of shutting down Logan's guards, because Drew Hatfield only had 6 points, and nobody else other than Peter No got into double figures for Logan. So I think that just speaks to how close these two teams are, and a lot of people weren't sure how evenly matched they would be coming into this game. I think coming out of that, everybody now looks at it and says, wow, either one of these teams could come out with a victory, and next Friday night at Logan, we may see a different result, but I think we're going to see the same intensity out of both these teams.
Chris Kidd, WVOW, you are exactly right. I think they play again next Friday night, and I think you're going to see the same atmosphere, and I think you're going to see a good tight ball game. Chris, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again next Friday night.
No, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a good show.
All right. Thanks, sir. Chris Kidd, WVOW in Logan. We'll go right back to the phone lines. A guy that's been covering a lot of basketball this week, and we'll get a report from him now. And, Dave, hopefully you can get back in with us a little later. But talk a little bit about what we've had so far down at the Big Atlantic Classic there in Beckley.
Well, guys, thanks for having me on. Obviously, there might be one of the few places I guess there was basketball. There were, I guess, a few other handball games out there, but handball games in the Armory today. Summers County girls played in the consolation game, started at 2 o'clock, lost to Spring Valley in that game, and we had 3 boys games. Pretty good game between Princeton and South Charleston. Princeton with a 63-60 win. And interesting enough, now Princeton will get to play Woodrow, something they can't do in the regular season because of the moratorium. The Mountain East Conference, Mountain South, MSAC, you know what I'm talking about,
right.
Mountain State Athletic Conference. They have a moratorium because Princeton left the conference. So that does not supersede the Big Atlantic. So Princeton winning its way into a rematch with Woodrow Wilson. Tonight, Woodrow, and this game just ended about an hour ago, Woodrow beats Hampshire 97-45. And get these stats. All 11 Woodrow Wilson players played, all played double figures minutes, all scored at least 4 points. So it wasn't just a situation where they ran it up. They actually did play everybody. Ron Kidd played everybody on his bench. They played. I think everyone played the first half as they easily handled Hampshire, so they'll play in the championship game. One of the interesting, there were a couple upsets early in the week. I'll get to those as well. Valley, Greyhounds in their last year of existence, beat a ranked number 4 Greenbrier West team in the championship game, the single-A bracket. Night after this was earlier in the week, they beat Van in the first round, beat Greenbrier West, and win that championship on a tip-in at the buzzer. Actually, the tip-in was against Van to get to the championship game. Jimmy Harper tipped in a miss at the buzzer to win. They went on to beat Greenbrier West, a big win for the Hounds. In their last year as a school, they're all closing because of the Fayette County consolidation. Also that night, Fayetteville won the consolation game. Both schools that are closing got a chance to play in one last Big Atlantic Classic, both with wins on Tuesday night. Also Wednesday, Wyoming East with a big victory over number 5 Oak Hill in the Double-A bracket, 63-43. I think everyone knew Wyoming East could beat Oak Hill. The last 3 meetings were decided by just 6 total points. I don't think anybody saw a 20-point win by Wyoming. That's exactly what happened. McQuaid Canada was 22 in that game. Oak Hill did not shoot the ball particularly well. One of the negatives against Oak Hill was their lack of outside shooting. Well, they kind of put that to bed the next day when they beat James Monroe. Oak Hill did in a consolation game with 9 3-pointers. And that it had been one of the Achilles' heels for the Red Devils, ranked 5 in the latest Double-A poll. But Wyoming East showing it tough schedule paying off for it.
All right, Dave Morrison down at the Big Atlantic Classic. Dave, if you could give us a call back a little later tonight, we'll get you on and we'll talk about some more of the action from the Big Atlantic Classic there in Beckley.
All right, guys, I appreciate it.
All right, Super Dave Morrison reporting tonight from the Beckley Raleigh County Convention Center Armory, whatever they call it now.
A lot of people that have lived there a long time still call it the Armory.
The Armory, that's right.
Exactly. So anyway, we're up against a break, our first break here on Basketball Friday Night. On deck, we've got Dave Spencer, Eric Little, and Bill Nestor. So all coming up next here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Does showing up for work at a ballpark or an arena sound good to you? A Marshall University sports journalism degree can get you there. Sports journalism at Marshall is serious and it's big business. Sports media and communications careers are some of the most competitive and marketable in the world. We'll prepare you to think critically, report accurately, and artfully tell the stories on and off the field or court. If this sounds like you, the Marshall School of Journalism is ready and eager to start your journey. Learn more at marshall.edu/SOJMC. Welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for joining us. And a big shout out to some of our newest Twitter followers, including Janet Kelly, Rigel, Shelby McDaniels, David Stout, M, and Jonathan Bailey. Of course, we're streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University. You can visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night Scoreboard. Watch our live, high-definition video stream by going to basketballnight.com. All it takes is just one click to watch. We're also on Facebook. You can find us at Basketball Night WV on Facebook. And we're on Periscope. Go to Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup, and we're on Periscope. Call the show tonight. We want to hear from you. Toll free 855-784-6677. 855-784-6677. Give us an update on your team's game. You can tweet, text, email, or give us a call. Find out by going to basketballnight.com. Special thanks again to all of our affiliates carrying the show tonight.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Back on Basketball Friday Night, 9:21 here in the state of West Virginia. The call log is backed up. And real quick, I'm going to jump right in here and bring in Bill Nestor from WPDX in Clarksburg. He covers the Robert C. Byrd. And Bill, first of all, must ask you, how is the weather in the Clarksburg region tonight?
Joe, it's been terrible. We had a ton of snow here today. In the last couple of days prior to that, the temperature's so cold, we haven't seen any kind of activity, games played since Wednesday. So it's been a wash for the rest of the week. So it's been kind of a frustrating time here this week. There were a lot of matchups that a lot of teams in the area were looking forward to, but no school, no play. That's what we do in Harrison County, and a lot of the counties around here abide by that same policy. So didn't have a chance to get on the hardwood in the last few days. So that just means teams will be chomping at the bit here at the start of next week.
What's Robert C. Byrd looking like before they got this unexpected break? I know they started out pretty hot, and we haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, so give us an update.
Real quickly, Robert C. Byrd in the midst of a 6-game win streak, and they've done it mainly defensively. In the last 4 games combined, the Flying Eagles giving up just 43 points per contest. So they're doing a good job of pressuring teams defensively, getting turnovers and translating those into fast break baskets. It's given them a lot of confidence. They started out this win streak against crosstown rival Bridgeport. They've had some nice wins in between, but they'll be looking at some tough games coming up, Joe. As a matter of fact, on Monday, heading to Polar Bear territory to do battle, and they've got Frankfurt on Wednesday in a Little General Shootout. So a couple big lockups coming up next week.
Of course, a couple weeks ago, Fairmont Senior had a bit of a stumble. That's got to give a little bit of hope to those other AA teams up there, as far as thinking, that it's not like an impossible deal to compete with and even beat. The Fairmont Senior is getting right competitive up there in those AA teams.
That's a great point. As a matter of fact, Robert C. Byrd and Fairmont Senior locked up a few weeks back, and that was Robert C. Bird's second to last loss, And in that game, Byrd was down 5 points midway through the fourth quarter with a basketball, lost to Fairmont Senior, but in the second half outscored the Polar Bears by 1 point. So a lot of positive things happened later in that game, giving us some confidence heading into the lockup in Fairmont on Monday.
Okay, Bill Nestor, thanks for the report, and I hope the weather gets a little better up that way. You and I were kind of chatting back and forth tomorrow, hoping the I-79 is in a little better shape.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope you have a safe trip up. I was hoping to get a chance to see you there. A lot of times we'll catch up, Joe, at the Mountaineer games, but I've got a doubleheader over at Olson Broaddus University tomorrow, so I won't be able to attend. So I do want to wish you safe travels and hope you can bring some luck and maybe a win tomorrow for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, they need it, that's for sure. Bill Nestor, WPDX in Clarksburg. We'll talk to you again next week.
Guys, thanks for having me on. Have a great rest of the show and a great weekend as well.
All right, thank you very much. And let's go right back to the phone lines, and we are going to be bringing in Dave Spencer. He's the head coach of the Calvary Baptist Academy. And Brian, you probably know this guy.
Yeah, what I love about Coach Spencer is he's the calmest guy I've ever seen on the sidelines. We could be in the midst of a high stress situation, and he and I look over at each other, and I'll let him know what our foul situation is, what our turnover situation is. He's just always calm, cool, and collected. Hey, Coach, good to have you on tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing well.
We've talked all year, and something that Bill and Joe and I were talking before the show about was our schedule this year at Calvary Baptist. We've kind of stepped out of our comfort zone a little bit. Talk about kind of some goals that you and our athletic director, Donald Pauly, had in mind when we put our schedule together, because tomorrow we go to Cabell Midland and play the Knights, a AAA school, and we've had Ripley, who's a AA school that we've had on our schedule, and some other public schools on the schedule. But talk about what you think the impact's been on the season this year with scheduling.
Well, it's always good to be able to branch out and play some different schools that we don't normally get to play against. We've played Tulsa, Point Pleasant a couple times, Hannon a couple times, St. Joe's, Ripley, Greater Beckley, Sheldon Clark out of Kentucky, Cabell Midland tomorrow, of course. So we're kind of stepping out and playing some bigger schools than ourselves. But that, whenever you're playing better schools, better competition, it just makes you get better, makes the guys see that, hey, there's some really good players out there, and it puts in them a motivation, I think, to get better over the season. So I think it's just a good thing for us to continue to play some tough games for us this year.
Hey, Coach, how tough is it for a private school like that you guys have, as far as classification? How tough is it to schedule a game with one of the WVSSAC schools?
I don't really do any of the scheduling. That'd be our AD. A lot of the times, every once in a while we'll say schools will, be full or whatever because they can only play 22 games, and a lot of them are in conference or they're trying to play schools that they'll probably see. But for the most part, if we call early, teams are pretty accommodating as long as they know that we're going to be competitive, and we have been for the past few years. And I think it was actually Cabell Midland that approached us over the summer and trying to get a game in. So, as long as we continue to win, then I think we'll be approached, even more by some other schools. I know we got Greater Beckley coming to our gym next year. We did kind of a home and home with them over the past couple of years. So as long as we stay competitive and win ball games, I don't think I think teams are happy to come in and play us, and we're happy when they invite us to play them.
Coach Bill Cornwell here. Of course, Brian keeps us very up to date about your ball club, and we hear from other ball clubs involved with WVCAT. And it seems like as the years go by that the quality of the talent, quality of the games just keeps going higher and higher in WVCAT. When a lot of these schools started playing, you'd see these very low scores and not a lot of quality, but you're seeing quality. You're seeing really competitive games now.
Yeah, I mean it's up and down within our conference play. Many years will come. All the teams will kind of go down a little bit, but then we'll have some good years, and it's been pretty good. It's been really competitive over the past 3 or 4 years with our team and with some other teams in the WVCAT. And I think other schools in the area are starting to see that, and they're starting to get us on their schedule. And I think they enjoy coming to our schools and playing in, a different atmosphere and a different venue or whatever. And I believe they enjoy having us come there because I think that we try to respect, our opponents as much as we can, and trying to bring a Christ-like attitude to the game as much as we can. And I think teams appreciate how we play, and we appreciate getting the opportunity to do these games.
Yeah, Coach, I've told these guys for weeks now, I think that Calvary has the best guard in the state of West Virginia that nobody knows about, in Isaac Massey, averaging about 22 points a game. And then our big center, Robert Clutter, 6'5", junior. Talk about, because Isaac and Rob and Roger, his twin brother, and of course my son came over, and the influx of talent. The last several years, you've really incorporated talent that has come to Calvary from other schools. Well, talk about the impact that some of those kids that have made that have come from other schools into Calvary.
Yeah, a couple years ago we had some kids that come over from some of them from Hurricane High, and you know they approached us and they wanted to check us out, and it just some pieces fell together from different places, and we had some development within our own school, and it worked out really well for us. And a couple of those kids got looked at to play at the next level, and actually did play at the next level. And then I was actually asking Isaac, you know, one of our guards that is actually a really good player, a really good shooter. I mean, he can stroke it from three. I shot with him a lot over the summer, and if we shoot 100 threes, he's going to make 80 plus. And that's, you know, I mean, there's nobody guarding you. I get that, but still, that's a high percentage, and he's probably shooting 40 plus from the 3-point line this year. So he can stroke it. And I asked him, I was like, Isaac, you know, why'd you want to come here? Because he transferred in his junior year, and he said, well, you know, I liked some of the players that you had here the previous few years, and just being able to follow up what they're doing. You know, so if other players see this in the area or wherever, and they like, hey, I like what's going on over there, I want to go over there and play, and kind of follow in their footsteps. That's kind of what's happened over the past 2 or 3 years. I think if you have a winning culture, people, they just want to be a part of that. And so we've just had some good kids, and they're just good kids too, not just good players, but they're actually good kids coming to our school, and it's kind of helped the school out as a whole.
All right, Dave Spencer, the head coach of the Calvary Baptist Academy Patriots. Thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to talking to you again later in the season.
Hey, I'll see you in about 16 hours with the dry erase markers, okay?
All right. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. You guys have a good night.
All right. Thanks very
Coach.
much, Dave Spencer, head coach of the Calvary Baptist Patriots. And he probably didn't know this, but coming up immediately after the break, the head coach of the Cabell Midland boys, Rick Chapin. Much more to come as we head into break number 2 here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. R.J. Klein, Sherman Tide, Jesse Muncie, Tulsa Rebels, Anna Hamilton, Nicholas County Grizzlies, Jordan Kish, Chapmanville Tigers, Madison Blankenship, Riverview Raiders, Marley Weinschetz, Fairmont Senior Polar Bears, and tonight you'll meet someone from the Montcalm Generals. What they have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the Standout Athlete of the Week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select the Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com. Click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab, fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Check it out at basketballnight.com. Hey, and we want you to become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family, too. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. And you can join the Hampshire Trojans boys basketball team on Twitter with us. West Virginia Coaches Association, John W. Kelly, Hannah Blankenship, Titan Select. Thank you for becoming part of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
9:34 across the state of West Virginia. Joe Linville, Bill Cornwell, Brian Sexton joining us tonight. Unfortunately, Ryan Epling a little under the weather, and we send our well wishes to him and hope he's feeling better real soon. But we know you're here for scores, so let's take a look at the Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. And first up, we'll take a look at the boys. Brian, give us some scores. I'm sorry, on the girls' side, give us some scores.
Well, on the girls' side, out toward my way, the Lincoln County Panthers went down to the Logan Wildcats tonight, 59-47. It's a final. Some cancellations tonight, Joe. Petersburg and Berkeley Springs postponed, a makeup date to be determined. Also, North Marion and Fairmont Seniors. We talked to Dave Morrison, some bad weather up there in the northern part of the state. That's postponed until February 12th. Also, the Lincoln Cougars and the Grafton Bearcats postponed until February 12th. A game that will be played tomorrow, as Bill mentioned in our last break. Huntington High and Hurricane. The Redskins will be going to the Highlanders tomorrow for a girls' game. A final tonight in Sissonville. Scott, 86-62 over the Indians of Sissonville. And, Joe, that's all I have for scores. Over to you for the boys.
All right, Bill.
Over to Bill.
Well, first off, we'll give you the finals we do have, or partial scores. Then we'll go through the postponement and the reschedule list. One finals, Princeton beat South Charleston in the Big Atlantic Classic, 63-60. Another one from that tournament, Greenbrier East falling to Hedgesville, 42-32. Woodrow Wilson takes care of Hampshire, also in the Big Atlantic Tournament, 97-45. St. Albans and Nitro battle of the bridge. Nitro falls to St. Albans, 77-61. Sissonville falls to the Scott Skyhawks. Big win for the Skyhawks, 86-62. Fourth quarter score, Mingo Central over Wayne, 54-49. Winfield beats Herbert Hoover, 45-44. Narrow one there. It was the University Hawks over Buchanan and Upshur, 56 actually that's a halftime score. This was a whopper, 56-14. University leading Buchanan and Upshur. And of course, big final last night. We talked about it already. We'll talk a bit more about it later. Chapmanville beating Logan 51-47. Now looking at the postponement list, of course, a lot taken care of because of the weather. Shadyside and Cameron were played tonight has been canceled. No makeup date. As far as postponed till February 16th, Moorfield and Pendleton County. Postponed till next Monday, Webster County and Braxton. Also postponed, Midland Trail and Gilbert County. Postponed till tomorrow is Musselman and Jefferson. Postponed till next Thursday is Bluefield and Oak Hill. That would have been a big-time showdown in Class AA. Also postponed to February 16th, Lincoln County and Ripley.
And that's a look at our Marshall University Sports Journalism BasketballNight.com scoreboard. I know on the one score you gave, the Scott Sissonville, that's actually a boys' game, and that got put over on the girls' side, so that's not Brian's fault. But that's senior night down in Madison tonight. Mm-hmm. They've only got one more home game. Well, actually, they're doing a home game tomorrow night. It's kind of a pickup game, I think, against Heritage Christian.
Yep.
And then actually they were supposed to play Man. Man dropped the game because they scheduled too many. Then they picked up South Charleston, and for some reason South Charleston backed out this week. So this game was just put together like within the last 24 hours.
You look
tomorrow night.
You look at the schedules. You at least on the SSAC side, you go to the website, and there are fewer and fewer games regular season left.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of folks are not necessarily backloading their schedules. They're trying to give themselves a little time to practice and maybe just to rest up before they get into postseason. So there's a lot of folks. They're down to the last 4 or 5 regular season games now.
Yeah, and over on the girls' side, it's even tighter than that.
Well, and guys, last year we were able to pick up a couple games. We picked up a game with Man at Calvary. Man came to Calvary Baptist and played. And then we picked up a game where we went to Buffalo in Putnam County because of the teacher strike. They wanted to get some games in and things like that. And so, and Heritage Christian's a new program up in Ravenswood with head coach Justin Dempsey up there from Mountain Mission that we knew several years ago. But again, when you've got a school like that that's looking for a game, it's a nice fit sometimes to get a school like a Calvary Baptist or a Taze Valley or a Heritage Christian to come in and play.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. And joining us now is the head coach of the Cabell Midland Knights, Coach Rick Chafin. And, Coach, good evening and welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Hey, it sounds like you got a pretty exciting game there. Of course, we had your opponent for tomorrow on just a few minutes ago, and I'm sure you heard that interview. You guys ready to take on Calvary Baptist?
Yeah, we just came off, the close, very, very close game last night with Spring Valley, and you got to come back and play Calvary, and maybe some people not real familiar, with Calvary, but we certainly are. They're they have a really good team. They've won several games. I know they got a great guard in the Massey kid, and they have another kid that shoots basketball just as well. And then they have a big 6'5" kid inside. So, we'll have our hands full tomorrow. We went through Murderers Row there, 7 MSAC games in a row, and in a little over 2 weeks. And it's tough, going in there. Then you got to come back and play a game Saturday, and then we got Huntington on Monday. So, it doesn't get any easier.
Rick, let's talk about last night's game. You improved to 10-4 and 7-3 in the MSAC with a hard-fought win out at Spring Valley. And we were talking earlier about the atmosphere at the Logan Chapmanville regional game last night. Crowd may not have been as large, but the atmosphere and the rivalry is no less intense between Spring Valley and Cabell Midland, and I know that's got to be a lot of fun to be a part of.
Right. It kind of reminded me of, like the old, C.K. Vincent games or Huntington East, these rivalry games, and I've been to Spring Valley games, and, they certainly did not have as many people as they did last night. Now, in our games at Midland, we certainly do not have as many people come to the games as there were last night. It was a great atmosphere. Both teams played hard, and, we were just, lucky enough to come out with the win.
Hey, Coach Brian Sexton, I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow when our Calvary Baptist Academy Patriots comes to the Castle and takes on the Knights. I'm looking at your schedule, and what impresses me is you guys have really gone outside the box. You opened up with Grace Christian. Of course, you're taking on Calvary tomorrow. Home and home with South Point this year. Raceland on your schedule. That's really outside the box scheduling. We talked to Coach David Spencer about that with Calvary. What was your goal in mind when you guys put that schedule together of scheduling teams outside of going across the river and playing South Point, going across the river and playing Raceland, playing Calvary and Grace?
Well, we needed games. We were calling around trying to get games in March and April, and we couldn't get anybody to play us. Everybody was saying, you're all really going to be good this year. And I kept saying, hey, we're, we only won 8 games last year. I was actually, I called as far as, schools down in, Fayette County in Kentucky. We were calling, over in Ohio. We went all the way down the river and up toward Columbus, and we called, several schools in West Virginia. We just had a tough time, scheduling games. We were fortunate enough to get 22 games. And, one of our kids came from Calvary, and he said, Coach, I think it was this summer, he said, and he played at Calvary, and actually one of our best shooters. And he said, why don't you, call them? So, that's kind of how we got together to put together a 22-game schedule.
Coach, talk a little bit about your schedule. You just talked about that Murderers Row, and like you said, you get through the weekend, it doesn't get any easier as the first of the week rolls around.
Right. We have Huntington on Monday, and so we really don't have any prep time for Huntington. And then we actually have 5 games in 7 days. We have a game Saturday. We play again Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So, when you get, your schedule like that, you really don't have time to prep for teams as much as you would like. One thing that I've always done, throughout my years of coaching is pride myself on defense and holding the other teams, down. But when you don't have a chance to prepare your team for, some things that you might see, it makes it a little bit tougher.
All right, Coach Rick Chafin, the head coach of the Cabell Midland the Knights. Coach, thanks for joining us here on Basketball Friday Night. We look forward to talking to you again before the season's out.
Okay, thank you.
Coach, we'll see you in about 16 hours. Look forward to it.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Rick Chafin, head coach of Cabell Midland. And these two guys here beside me, you guys teamed up on them. And anyway, sounds like they've had a really tough schedule this year, Bill.
They've had a very tough schedule. And he talked about Burgers Row. They had lost 3 in a row against good opponents, including George Washington, over the last week and a half. And so that was a big win for them to get back to a winning ways. They didn't want to get into a slump and just kind of a bad trend as far as losing these games. Give credit to his defense last night because they held the top scorer in the MSAC, C.J. Meredith, who's been averaging like 23, 24 a game. He had 12 last night. And so that's a defensive job that they did. And the one guy that we've talked about him before, their sophomore Chandler Schmidt, he's going to be one of the best in the state. And he's been putting up some big-time numbers. Again, an amazing sophomore player, can really stroke it from outside.
Well, and Bill, that's the thing, too, is you build these relationships with other schools. You know, I could see Cabell Midland playing South Point again next year. I could see Calvary playing Cabell Midland again next year. You build these relationships, and Coach Chafin was talking about just sourcing games, but you build relationships that you can schedule for years to come.
And, of course, the situation that Coach is talking about is that MSAC, you just don't have all the built-in conference games anymore because there's no more Ripley, there's no more Lincoln County, there's no more Princeton, there's no more Greenbrier East. And so those games are gone, and so you're having to go out and dig up some more games.
All right, guys, we got to take a break. Break number 3 coming up here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. On deck, Eric Little from WVVV in Parkersburg. Luke Creasy had the call of the Wayne, Mingo Central, and much more here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Every Friday night from 9 to midnight, we're the home for high school basketball in the Mountain State. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. You'll hear sports writers, broadcasters, coaches, players, and your calls recapping your team's game. Visit basketballnight.com for more details on how you can become part of the show. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Thanks to everyone tonight that's called, sent text, tweets, and emails. We appreciate you being part of the show and helping us cover all high school basketball in West Virginia. Join us on the phone tonight. Share your team's game. Call toll-free 855-784-6677. 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. You can text the show 304-249-4924, 304-249-4924. Go to our website, check out the scoreboard. Find out how you can connect with the show tonight at basketballnight.com. Our newest followers, Poppy594, Richard Pancake, Cassie Wright, and Landon Persinger. Thank you for becoming part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
9:48 across the state of West Virginia here on Basketball Friday Night. If you're watching on one of our video feeds, Bill Cornwell And Brian Sexton, great to have you with us tonight. You're just sliding right in there.
Hey, this is a lot of fun. You make it easy, though. You're
Brian,
committed.
you've almost survived your first hour.
Yeah,
You're
really.
going to make it, man.
Hey, I've got the jug of tea under the desk, so we.
Hey.
All right, guys, we got to keep moving. The call log is stacking up once again.
Good.
And let's go to a regular on the show, Eric Little from WVVV in Parkersburg, had the Parkersburg South George Washington Patriot game. Eric, good evening.
Hey, good evening. It was a game that made me want to reach for a jug of something under the desk, and it wasn't iced tea. It was a rough night. I should have paused for laughter. It was a rough night for Parkersburg South. They've dropped 4 of their last 5 in an 80-60 loss to George Washington that by 20 points is their largest loss by margin this year, and it wasn't even really that close. It was a 2-point George Washington lead after 1 quarter. George Washington got out in front 11-2. Parkersburg South got a timeout, changed their defense, and worked it back to a 16-16 tie. And the teams traded buckets most of the rest of the first quarter. Seth Fallon hit a full-court heave, by the way, at the end of the first quarter to make it a 2-point game after George Washington had gone up by 5. But after that, George Washington outscored South 20-4 in the second quarter, and it just went downhill from there for the Patriots. I wrote down the number earlier, and forgive me if I'm going off of memory here. I believe it was 57-35. George Washington outscored South in quarters 2, 3, and 4 combined. So they were led by a 37-point effort of Bunky Brown. Second straight game of the way South has allowed somebody to score more than 35 after Willie Parks. Keandre King hit 36 against South on Tuesday, a 37 for Bunky Brown. They did get Mason Pinkett back, George Washington did. He missed several games with an injury. He didn't start tonight, but Rick Green worked him back into the rotation. But without him in the lineup, Bunky Brown's really stepped up to lead that team. I think he was averaging 24 points a game going into tonight's game, and that's surely going to go up with a 37-point effort.
Eric, we talked a couple weeks ago about Coach Fallon, maybe having some time. They had a little bit of lull in games. Even though they lost tonight, is he still pleased with maybe that they're starting to make a little bit of progress after a slow start this season?
I think maybe for a while he was, but I think he still largely feels very frustrated with this team and very frustrated that he can't seem to figure things out. The Patriots just hit a wall in that second quarter and never climbed back into it. They got a technical foul assessed to them midway through the quarter, an incorrect number in the scorebook. It's just another one of those goofy things that seems to be happening to the Patriots this year. And Bunky Brown was able to hit one of the technical free throws and then hit a 3 on the ensuing possession. And after that, that really seems to be at the point to where George Washington started to build up that lead. So now he's very frustrated, not terribly satisfied. That's not a word I would use to describe his feelings toward the Patriots right now.
Eric, real quick, what's on tap next for Park South?
South has a trip tomorrow to Logan, Ohio, to play the Chieftains. Tonight was the first of 5 games in 8 days. This game tonight was actually postponed from last night, so things don't get easier. It's the Chieftains tomorrow night, and then they've got Capital Monday and I want to say Hurricane Wednesday in the Little General Shootout. So we'll be in Charleston 2 nights next week, and then they're home against Ripley on Friday. I want to take a quick mention. The off-court highlight of the night came before the game, and I apologize if you're up against some time. George Washington head coach Rick Green, before the game, presented Parkersburg South head coach Mike Fallon with a donation to Anna's Army. Of course, awesome. Anna Gordon heads up Anna's Army. She suffers from Friedreich's ataxia. And we had Anna's Army night, actually, just Tuesday night. And that was in honor of late Parkersburg South scorekeeper Keith Barker. Mike Fallon, the head coach of the Patriots, had no idea this was coming. There was a moment of silence before the game, and I only got tipped off about it maybe 5 minutes to airtime when Coach Green came up to me and told me what was going on. It was the George Washington Boys Basketball Alumni Association that came together to make a gift to Anna's Army in honor of Keith Barker. Wow. And Coach Green presented that to Coach Fallon tonight. And I shared some thoughts about Coach Green last week because I followed him on this program. But that just exemplifies what a class act he is and what a class act that program is and all the people are at George Washington, to understand that the Parker Springs South basketball community suffered a very palpable loss, one that we're all still reeling from and feeling a month out, and to do a kind gesture like that, that just shows the kind of top-notch people and program that you got there.
Absolutely. That is a true meaning of class act. Eric Little, WVVV in Parkersburg, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, take care. Thanks again, guys.
All right. Real quickly, we'll get right back into the phone lines. Luke Creasy, regular here on Basketball Friday Night. Luke, we got about 2.5 minutes. Talk about this Wayne Mingo Central game.
Well, it looked like it was going to be a blowout at first here, Joe. The Pioneers got down by as many as 20 in the first half before they finally got something going offensively in the second half. Hit 10 three-pointers on the night. 9 of those came in the second half. 6 off the hand of sophomore Brian Sexton, but it wasn't enough to defeat the Miners, who entered a 4-game losing skid and won just their second game of the year to the Mingo Central Miners. But came down to the wire there toward the end after trailing by as many as 18 in the second half alone. Wayne was able to fight back and pull within 5 in the final minutes. But I think Mingo Central hit 6 of 7 from the free throw line down the stretch to seal the victory there.
Luke, you've been on this side of the microphone. Now you're on the other side. What's the difference?
Well, there's a lot of difference. On this end, I have some deadlines that I'm running up against. But it's been fun to get used to. I've watched a lot of basketball in Wayne County, of course. I've been out to Tulsa a few times and been hanging out with Coach Marone out there some to watch his girls play. They're having a good year, as well as the boys. They had a big win against Tug Valley early on in the week on Tuesday. Jesse Muncie went for 35, the freshman for Tulsa. He's just an incredible player. I'm sure Tug Valley will be tired of seeing him in a few years, but it's fun to be on both sides.
We've got about a minute left, and talk about the Wayne girls just a little bit. They seem like they've struggled here late in the season.
Yeah, they have. They got on a little bit of a run there. Winfield got the best of them early on in the season. That started the 2-game losing streak, and they've kind of relied on Lake and Atkins being a main scorer there for the Lady Pioneers. Of course, her sister Ariel Atkins playing for the Marshall Thundering Herd now. A big loss there on the offensive side, but they've started to get things going still in a good place there in Region 4 in Class AA. But I think this Wayne's got a lot of youth right now for the girls, and they're trying to get some key role players to step up, some underclassmen. Alana Eves, one of those underclassmen that has the capability to take over if she can. But Lakin Atkins is the pure and natural leader on that team, able to score at will when she wants to and when she's able to. But a lot of times when you have a main scorer like that, it's easy to key in on that, and you have to have some of those role players step up. So I think Wayne is aging as the season goes on, but it's certainly a lot of good to come from the Wayne Pioneers.
Luke Creasy, Wayne County News, thank you very much for the report. And, of course, we'll be talking to you throughout the season.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to it, Joe. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Luke Creasy, a regular here on Basketball Friday Night. We're up against the hard break. We'll have more at the top of the hour here on Basketball Friday Night on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
This is high school basketball's voice in the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates, including our newest station, 1360 AM, 97.1 FM, WHJC in Matewan. You can also listen on 105 KQV, WKQV in Cowan, 105.5 FM, and heard in Braxton County on 106.9 FM, 103.7 Jack FM, WQWV in Fisher, the Valley's Watchdog, 1600 AM, WKKX Wheeling, 1370 AM, WVLY Moundsville, Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel, Singing News Radio, 92.5 FM, WTHMLP Ravenswood Ripley, Knights Radio, 91.5 FM, WRSG Middleburn, Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg, 740 AM, 106.5 FM. Classic Hits, 106 WHFI Linside, 106.7 FM. 95 The Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM. The Voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM, WVOW in Logan. Light Rock, 93R, WRRR St. Mary's, 93.9 FM. The Ticket, 102.3 FM, WMTD in Henton. The greatest oldies of all time, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM, WQAZLP, Edmond, Beckley. Tuned for You Radio, Yap Radio, 101.7 FM, WYAPLP in Clay. 104.5 FM, WASPLV Huntington. 101.1 FM, WVWPLP Wayne. 90.7 FM, WFGH Fort Gay. And Marshall University's flagship station, The Cutting Edge. 88.1 FM, WMUL in Huntington.
A proud supporter of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Carter G. Woodson Lyceum honors the father of Black history and proudly serves as a forum for issues of importance to Marshall University in the tri-state area. Please visit www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum and follow our tweets for major events during February, including a discussion of the significance of the year 1619 on February 7th and the African American Museum in Washington on February 19th. Educators will find information about a summer institute for teachers at www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. That's one word, Woodson Lyceum, WOODSON LYCEUM. The Lyceum was founded in 2016 by the Drinko Academy and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. To join tonight's program, call 855-78-HOOPS. That's 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup for all the scores all the time. And visit basketballnight.com for a comprehensive look at schedules and standings for every team in the state. Stay tuned. Another hour of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia begins right now.
One down, two to go in the fastest 3 hours of high school basketball across the state of West Virginia. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. I'm Joe Linville. If I could say my name, I'd be all right. With us tonight, Bill Cornwell, Brian Sexton. Great to have you on. Before we get to a scoreboard update, I want to go back to the phone lines because I didn't want to crowd this guy, so I held him over to the second hour here. And joining us now is the winning head coach in the big matchup we talked about a little earlier last night, Coach Brad Napper of the Chapmanville Regional Tigers. First of all, Coach, congratulations on the win. What was the difference in your opinion?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I don't know. It was a hard-fought game. It was a defensive struggle. Both teams, I thought, were really, really good on defense, and there wasn't a whole lot of open shots out there. And we just made, I think, enough plays at the end of the game to kind of hold on. We missed two big foul shots. But our defense held when we had to get a stop. So I think that was probably the biggest 12 seconds of the game were the last 12 seconds, and we were able to come up with a stop.
Coach, there's been a lot of hype on this game. Of course, you guys being the top-ranked team in AA and Logan sliding up there to number 3, probably one of the biggest games between these two schools in a long time. And I'll tell you what, there was a lot of talent on the floor last night.
Yeah, I thought both teams really, really played hard and left it all out there. It was a great atmosphere, and just, if there was a better high school basketball game in the country last night, I would have liked to saw it, because it was just the whole place was electric, and you could almost feel the pressure on both teams and the intensity in the building, and it was just an unreal atmosphere for a high school basketball game.
Hey, Coach Brian Sexton, how do you keep in a big-time game like that, again, sellout crowd, it's your rival, they're 10 minutes from you, 15 minutes from you, the atmosphere is electric. How do you keep your kids in check and keep them from letting their emotions get the best of them in a charged atmosphere like that?
I think we've got a bunch of juniors and seniors that's been in those types of games now for 2 or 3 years. So, we really didn't have to do a whole lot. We treat it just like every other game, and we didn't really put a whole lot of emphasis on the game, to be honest with you. It was I thought enough pressure from the fans, and the kids were putting pressure on themselves. So we just kind of, as our coaching staff, just kind of treated it like every other game, and tried to just get the guys to go out and relax and play.
Coach, it's kind of funny how the way the schedule works. It's almost like you've got an NBA series going here, because you're going to face these guys down at the Logan at Willie Akers Arena next week, and you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Of course, your case, you guys get the win, but you're going to what you're going to face next week.
Yeah, and it'll be the same kind of intensity, the same kind of game. I think next time, both teams know each other so well. Our kids play together in the summers; they play together in the off season. A lot of them are friends. So it's a rivalry game that our kids, I think, really like each other and have a ton of respect for each other. And it's not one of those rivalries where it gets chippy and guys really don't like each other. It's more of just a fun rivalry with it, where both teams really respect each other, like each other. And the kids, actually enjoy playing with each other in the off season when they're in AAU and things like that.
Coach, before that matchup against Logan, once again, I think you got a matchup against Mingo Central scheduled for tomorrow night. Is that game still on?
Yes.
And talking about these two teams, they actually had WVOW and Logan had a special edition of their Hatcher show that we talked about last week. And these guys were actually all together down at the local Ford dealership on Wednesday evening, and they all got along great. There was some looks back and forth that we were all kind of laughing over at the broadcast desk. But they do, like you say, Coach, they all get along real well. And they all know each other very well.
Yeah, they do. Like I said, there's 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6 of them that play on the same AAU team, in the summer, and have played together now for 3 or 4 years. They go play open gym with each other. They hang out. They go to the movies together sometimes. So, there's a lot of them that are good friends with each other. So, they, don't get me wrong. They both teams, I'm sure, wanted to win. They have bragging rights and things like that. Give each other a hard time, I'm sure. But they're both teams have great kids, and it's just been a fun rivalry.
Coach, with that being said, from the game last night, do you think at times maybe players, even from both teams, maybe tried too hard?
Yeah, I think so. I think both teams could have relaxed a little bit more, and it would have been probably a little bit better offensive game. It was kind of an ugly game, but it was a defensive struggle from the get-go, and the referees were letting us play, both teams play, and there was a lot of bumping and hand checking and things like that, and that kind of hurts the offensive part of it too. But I thought the officials did a great job letting the kids decide the outcome of the game, and it was just pretty much you had to fight for everything you got the whole game, both teams, and it was just a great atmosphere and a great high school basketball game. That's pretty much the only way I can sum it up.
All right, Coach Brian Napper, head coach of the Chattanville Regional Tigers, picked up the win last night over Logan by a score of 51-47. Coach, thank you very much. We'll talk to you in a week or two here on Basketball Friday Night.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Coach Brad Napper. I'll tell you what, I was at the game, and I got there about 45 minutes before tip, and there was no seats. I mean, there was actually people sitting in the aisles. I know we got some of the pictures up that aired during our commercial breaks and so forth for those watching on video. But, Bill, have you seen any games down your way it was a packed house?
Not lately.
And they actually turned a lot of people away.
No, that is an amazing, but again, you're talking top 5 teams going at it, close rivals, and it kind of reminds me of some of the, when we still had some of the smaller schools here in the Huntington area, used to be great rivalries in the Ohio Valley Conference between Cerrito Canova and Chesapeake, actually Chesapeake and South Point when Rick Huckabee was coaching South Point, and you would have crowds that would get there 4:30 in the afternoon, and they would have the place packed at 5:30, 2 hours before a tip-off.
And the crowds were pretty even last night between. They said that I think Logan. I don't remember how much. What the seating capacity is there in Champville, but they said they sent 400 tickets down to Logan. I think there was probably a few more than 400 Logan fans there last night. What does that do for your team, Brian, when you've got an atmosphere and a crowd like that behind you cheering for you?
Well, Bill's going to get me nostalgic talking about the Rick Huckabee days at South Point.
Yeah.
That was my guy over there. But a couple of years ago, when I was at Taze Valley Christian School, my son was going there, and I was working with their prep program. We had a similar situation when we played Huntington Prep, and man, it was a packed house. And here's what you don't see this time of year, Joe. When you get a lot of people in the building, the floor starts to get a little slicker. And that's the thing that you see is you get a lot of people in the building. It's cold outside, but it's hot inside. And you start to get some of those weird things start happening where guys slip a little bit more. You've got to pay extra attention to how close do we let fans get to the playing surface. You've got to have room for the officials to navigate and things like that. So there's some different types of things when you have a big time and you've got a lot of people in a high school gym, to Bill's point, that you don't really think about until you're in the middle of playing the game, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, we've got to get some of these things under control.
All right, we're going to hold up on the scoreboard here for just a little bit, and we're going to go back to the phone lines. David Akers, head coach of the Grace Christian Soldiers, joining us now here on Basketball Friday Night. Coach, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hey, Coach Akers, Brian Sexton. We've gotten to play you guys, played you guys a week or so ago at Calvary Baptist Academy. Great game, 68-61. The Patriots won. You've got a tough, scrappy ball club. I tell you, when folks play you, and we had Coach Chafin on from Cabell Midland, you guys played them early in the season. Talk about your ball club this year and kind of the attitude and mentality that you've taken into the season.
We're a young team. We have a couple of juniors we rely on, a couple of sophomores, a couple of seniors as well. But we've got a chance, to build upon that, and looking forward to the future. We're a small school. We struggle with that, with low enrollment and not having a whole lot of kids to choose from, but our enrollment is increasing at Grace Christian, and says a lot for our school. We're excited about people moving in, and look forward to the future.
Hey, Coach, you've got a fine young player in Eli Foster. Kid's about 6'4", 6'5". He's a junior. Nice player. What I like about Eli Foster is he's just as comfortable from the inside as he is from 21, 22 feet. He really it epitomizes, in my mind, an inside-outside guy. You've got Ricky Tanner, can really shoot the basketball. Cooper Branson. Talk about those three kids in particular. To me, those three kids are kind of the core of your team.
The neatest thing about coaching at a Christian school versus a public school is you get to go through a discipleship process with them, and you get to spend time on talking about and being exposed to spiritual things. And so the basketball is just a bonus. We get to talk about Jesus, but we also get to talk basketball, and we get to instruct these young men, and we get to have this kind of relationship with them. But those three young men are just awesome. Cooper Branson, just every coach's dream, on the floor, just knocks people down, just anything to get the basketball. Eli doesn't have any idea how good he could be. Really shoots the ball well from the outside. It's one of those, we're trying to convince him that he's a post player, but he wants to play on the wing, so we kind of struggle a bit with that. Ricky Tanner is one of the streakiest shooters, scorers I've ever seen. He when he's on, he can light it up and shoot with just about anybody. So, yeah, they've been a dream to coach, and look forward to the future with them.
This is a real old home week for me tonight, Dave. I worked with Brian Sexton on and off for about 20 years, and of course, you and I have worked with Spring Valley off and on for a long time, and it's good to have you on the show with us tonight. You talked a little bit about the attitude of the kids, coaching them. Of course, you had a lot of experience coaching in football at Spring Valley. It seems like the kids at the Christian schools like Grace Christian, they're just a lot easier to work with. They have a lot better attitudes. They don't know it all. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think it's the fact that they pay tuition and the parents are going to see to it.
There you go. That's right.
But anyway, yeah, we've had a really good experience. You mentioned Spring Valley football, and that was a love of mine. I got to coach for about 10 years there, and also coached at numerous schools and programs in basketball over the years for about 40 years. I think Coach Terry asked me to coach at the old Buffalo Junior High when I graduated high school. So
sure did.
That's when I started. But anyway, I've enjoyed spending time with these young men and just the fact that they are growing and maturing in their faith and as basketball players and as young men. And you're right, these parents do a really nice job of complimenting the things that take place at the school. Dr. Brocky does an awesome job there, and we think the secret's just about to get out about Grace Christian School and what kind of school it is, hoping that players will start flocking there.
I've got to share.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Coach, I was going to share a little personal aside. So I was sitting next to Grace's bookkeeper, an old friend of mine, Aaron Childers. His son, Alex, plays on the team there at Grace. And late in the game, when we were playing down there, when Calvary was playing at Grace, we hit free throws down the stretch to put a game away. And I looked over at Coach Akers, and he looks at Aaron. He said, "Man, I've never seen a team shoot free throws like these guys do." And just right there at the end of the game, but to keep everything in perspective, and that's what I admire about Coach Akers the last couple of years is even in the heat of battle, Coach Akers really keeps things in perspective, encourages these kids, encourages them to keep on keeping on. And Coach, we'll see you in 2 weeks up at Summersville at the WVCAT. We're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I hope we're not in a situation where Isaac Massey's back on the line sealing the deal. I know that.
Yeah,
I'm tired of, I think he was 12 for 13 the last time we played from the free throw line.
Yeah, he was.
What a nice player.
Yeah, he was. But you guys played really well, and we had a hard time containing Eli Foster and Ricky Tanner. I tell you what, Ricky Tanner was starting to shoot 3-point shots from Barbersville, I think, and knocking them in. But
he never saw a shot he didn't like.
He didn't like, that's right. But we're looking forward to, and thank you again for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. And again, we'll see you in 2 weeks up in Summersville.
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to that. I'll see you then, Brian.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach David Akers, the head coach of the Grace Christian Soldiers, part of the WVU-CAT, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that as the evening goes on. We're up against a break. We come back, we'll have our Standout Athlete of the Week. More to come here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Careers in sports journalism are growing with the expansion of cable networks, the rise of sports-centered online platforms, and ever-popular local coverage. Get in the game. Your passion, curiosity, charisma, and a Marshall University sports journalism degree will equip you with the combination for success. You'll be the eyes, ears, and life of the game when you learn the art of sports storytelling while covering the Thundering Herd on our Huntington campus. Go behind players' stats and game scores. Learn to report compelling stories. Become proficient in breaking news across multiple media platforms. Find out how sports and media impact our society. Marshall University's W. Page Fitz School of Journalism and Mass Communications is ready and eager to help you start your sports journalism career. Learn more at marshall.edu/SOJMC. Welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tweeting us the scores. And if you have a cancellation, postponement, or you know the date of a game coming up that has been postponed to, moved to, please let us know, and we'll update it and let everybody else know too. Join us online. Voted this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight. Last week, 74% voted it was okay for a coach to go out and film scouting video of an opposing team's game. This week's question, just for you: should the number of fouls before a high school player is disqualified from a game be increased from 5 to 6? Give us a yes or a no. Go to basketballnight.com.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
10:19 on a Friday night, on a cold, wintry Friday night across the state of West Virginia. Joe Linville with you, sitting in for Ryan Epling. Brian Sexton, good to have you on with us tonight. Bill Cornwell is in studio. But joining us to my right, if you're on the video, I guess it would be probably to the left, is Marshall freshman Andrew Rogers. And welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Thank you. Just glad to be a part of this.
And he's going to be our standout athlete of the week. I don't know, I guess you'll be putting the package together and you'll be doing the interviews and so forth as a part of your project here at the Marshall University School of Journalism.
Absolutely glad to take on this project for you guys.
All right, tell us a little bit about Taylor, our standout athlete of the week.
Yeah, Taylor has been started 3 years for the Generals, was in and out of the lineup as a freshman, but now she's taken over as the starter for the Generals, and her experience for that team has really led them to be successful this year.
Well, in talking to Taylor, what are some of the extra activities you'll be talking about in your interview as far as, extracurricular activities?
Yeah, she's really active outside of the classroom, but really on the court. When I was able to talk with head coach Sydney Havens for the Generals, she really pointed out that she understands her role for the team, and she really does a good job of understanding her role on and off the court. All right, let's take a look or listen to Taylor Dunford from Montcalm High School.
A player who sets an example by giving her all in each role she assumes is what makes one a leader. Star power is not the essential trait for a leader. Being a modest leader is clearly the prominent attribute for this week's Standout Athlete of the Week. Taylor Dunford, a senior forward, has helped lead the Montcalm girls basketball team to a 10-4 record with only one loss coming at the hands of another single-A opponent. Dunford is averaging approximately double figures in points, along with 7 rebounds this season for the Generals, but she says it's not enough to have just one star player on the team to have success.
Growing up at a small school, you learn as a freshman to play with no fear. So I feel like that has a lot to do with this because we don't have a star player because as a team, we're just all used to hoping and relying on each other to depend. So whenever multiple people are scoring that night and getting rebounds and playing well, we usually win.
Dunford aims to lead her team beyond sectional play this season after Summers County knocked her Generals out in the sectional semifinals a year ago. Along with playing basketball, Dunford also plays volleyball and softball. Although Dunford is involved with different sports, she is still successful in other important areas of her life. Whenever she is finished playing basketball, she intends to become a teacher and is already job shadowing where she went to elementary school. Her father, Joey, says his daughter is preparing for her future career while enrolled at Montcalm High School.
She's setting an example by going on ahead and getting an early start on her college, I think. And not only that, she's also setting an example to the little kids that she's teaching. So hopefully a lot of these younger girls are looking at her as a role model and that maybe wanting to be more like her.
Dunford says she enjoys being around younger children and wants to make an impact on her community through a career in teaching.
Well, I've had a lot of good teachers throughout my whole life, and they've just, made me passionate about education and wanting to help people. And I feel like that would be the way that I could truly benefit this world by passing on the love to learn and get involved. And I've had a really good school. So I want to give back, and I think I could give back by helping out my community.
Dunford maintains a 4.0 GPA as a member of the National Honor Society. Also, she was student council president this past year. As with Montcalm High School's tradition, Dumford passed her presidency position to an underclassman for this academic year, while she remains heavily involved with student council. Dumford is grateful for the opportunities of which she has taken advantage of throughout her high school career.
You know, you get what you give. And I feel like I've done a lot with my school, and they've helped me a lot. So I really, truly, try to help out as much as I can. And just with everything that's happened this year, I just try to give back, because at the beginning of the year, I lost a close friend of mine in a car wreck. So that's just really impacted me and how I look at this year and my outlook on life, really, in general. And so I just want to try and help out my school as much as possible.
When she graduates from high school, Dumford plans to play basketball at Bluefield College. She intends to major in elementary education with a minor in physical education. But in the meantime, she wants to lead her team on a deep run during tournament play in March. For Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, I'm Special Correspondent Andrew Rogers.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Great job on putting together our Standout Athlete of the Week, Taylor Dunfield from Montcalm High School down in Mercer County. And if you don't know where that's located, it's just a few miles due north of Bluefield, and we'll have Taylor on a little later in the show. Let's go right back to the phone lines. And joining us now is the head coach of the Logan Wildcats, Coach Zach Green, in a game that we've talked a lot about throughout the evening. And Coach, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
In your perspective, what was the difference in the game last night?
Well, we didn't execute down the stretch. I think that was the biggest thing. We had some opportunities down the stretch, and we didn't execute.
Of course, the Logan Wildcats, your team jumped out to a quick lead, and Coach Brian Epling and his Tigers just kept chipping away, and it was an exciting game from there on out. Probably from the end of the first quarter, I believe you were tied up all the way, to the final buzzer.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere to play in last night. That was a state tournament, state championship style field that was there last night, and it's a great environment to put our guys in, and we just got a few things that we've got to work on and get better at, and I think we'll be okay.
Coach, you guys, I really have been impressed with the way that you scheduled this year. Obviously, you had these showdown games conference-wise with Chapmanville and others late in the season, but you've done a good job of crossing around the state, playing all-comers, AAA, AA, and I know it had to help as far as building up this ball club.
It absolutely has, and that's one thing, coming this season that we looked at. We thought we would have a team, veteran guys, juniors and seniors, and we do have a few younger guys to play some, but man, we were ready to challenge those guys, and I think this schedule has really prepared us, and we've got a tough road still to go. We've still got Chapmanville again, South Charleston, at Winfield, so at Scott, so a lot of big games coming up for us still, so we're excited, and that's when we put this schedule together, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to challenge our guys and prepare them the best we could for the postseason.
Coach, what do you tell your players? Like you said, you've got a couple games in between, but, you meet Chapmanville again on your home turf next Friday night at the Willie Akers Arena. What do you do to your team as far as a mindset to get prepared for that game and to keep them up so they'll be ready to play when Friday night rolls around?
I don't think I'll have to do a whole lot to get those guys up for that game. We talked a long time today and watched some film, and we absolutely feel that when they come to Logan on Friday, we'll be prepared. So,
just a lot of people talk about home court advantage. Do you think that came into play last night, and do you think it'll come into play in the game next Friday?
I think so. I think both of those environments are tough environments, and we play in a really unique environment there at Logan. So I think definitely that home court advantage will have a factor.
It was an exciting game, a packed house, and you got them again next Friday at your place, and more than likely you'll see them again come postseason as well.
Yes, we hopefully we see them 2 or 3, maybe more times. So we're excited and can't wait till Friday.
Absolutely, Coach Green. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again before the season's out.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Coach Zach Green, head coach of the Logan Running Wildcats. So he's really turned that program around down there. They were kind of down. Coach Hatcher had some health issues and stepped down there a couple years ago. And, of course, Coach Green, a former player at Logan, applied for the job, got it. And he has a lot of support from the community down there.
The community has really gotten back. Not that there was ever a loss as far as enthusiasm for basketball in Logan, but I thought it waned just a little bit as they had some struggles around, of course, with Coach Hatcher's issues, but he's done a good job of building it back. And to me, another thing is talent levels back. You got kids coming out to play basketball. There's always been kids in Logan who could play, play the game.
That's right.
Well, they're back at it, and they're on the team.
Brian, what does it mean to programs to have the community behind you like we've been talking about?
Well, Joe, and to Bill's point about Logan is that has always been tradition, and that's what you have to reinvigorate sometimes is the tradition, the pride of putting on the blue and gold of the Logan Wildcats and following those traditions of guys that have come before you. And a legendary coach like Coach Akers down there for a number of years just kept turning out talent after talented teams after talented teams. And I think those kids just want to step into that tradition.
It's unreal. They sell a lot of season tickets, and it's a lot of Coach Akers' former players that have stuck right there, that still live and work in the Logan area, and they're there every Monday night, Tuesday night, Friday night, whenever it is, to watch their Logan Wildcats. Got to take a break. Coming up on, it is 10:30, and we're halfway through the show, and another hour and a half to go in the fastest 3 hours of basketball. More to come on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Congratulations tonight to Taylor Dunford. Montcalm Generals. Taylor joins R.J. Klein from the Sherman Tide, Jesse Muncie from the Tulsa Rebels, Anna Hamilton, Nicholas County Grizzlies, Jordan Kish, Chapmanville Tigers, Madison Blankenship, Riverview Raiders, and Marley Weinschetz from the Fairmont Senior Polar Bears. What they all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You could nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab. Fill out the nomination form, we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Check it out at basketballnight.com. Streaming video from the studios at Marshall University. Visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night scoreboard. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Big shout out to Robert Canaveri, Heather Stewart, Aiden Satterfield, Brock Price, Wade, Rigel, and Janet Kelly. They're all now part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. Follow us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Joe Linville, Bill Cornwell, and Brian Sexton with you tonight. Once again, Ryan a little under the weather, and we wish him a speedy recovery and hope he's back with us next Friday night. So
we just passed halftime.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Here we're in the
Where's
second
the popcorn,
half.
Guys?
Yeah. No popcorn here tonight. I'm hearing we may have a little tailgate after the show. Normally you tailgate before the show, but I think tonight the tailgate comes afterwards.
I like it.
Anyway, join us here on Basketball Friday Night. Send us your scores of your local high school games throughout the state. You can text those to us at 304-249-4924. The number again, 304-249-4924. Or you can send them via Twitter at hoops_roundup. Or you can email them in at scores@basketballnight.com. So there's and we're even on Facebook now, so there's no excuse for not getting your scores into us. And there's a lot of empty slots out there tonight. Of course, a lot of the games postponed or canceled because of the weather tonight, and that's just something we've battled against, and we'll just it's just that time of the year.
When we have nights like this is a good night, though, to kind of take stock of the season. And, we'll have coaches on, and they kind of say, well, here's where we've been, and here's where we're going, and here's what we're working on, because it is a busy time, and now there's going to be makeup games you're going to have to schedule, and you don't want to have them kind of bunch up and smash up on you and wear your kids out, because I've seen it happen. I mean, I've seen just a lot of these makeup games just absolutely destroy teams because they get leg weary, and they just wear themselves out. So so you're going to have to do some strategic scheduling. Plus, in mind, you're wanting to progressively get your team ready for postseason. It's coming.
Well, Bill, we've talked to a couple coaches tonight that have said, I'm playing. We've got 5 games in 8 days. We've got, and that's a tournament type run. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, it's good preparation for the state tournament that's coming up in Charleston, and you got sectional and regional play and things like that. But again, Bill, to your point, in how do you pace yourself to say, okay, we've got 5 games in 8 days, but we want to play our best basketball every night to get ourselves ready to play, because when you get to those regional and sectionals, Joe, it's a single elimination at that point. It's one bad night, you're done.
One or done. That's
one
right.
bad night, you're done.
And anyway, the girls' season across the state is pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, they get first shot at postseason. They've got the first week of the state tournament, and so we're talking sectionals in about 2.5 weeks.
I know the Scott, and I'm keep bringing them up because I'm familiar with their schedule, but they play their final game of the season next week. So
a lot of senior nights starting around
already
the state.
starting. Yeah,
we've played our last home game at Calvary Baptist. So I mean, again, you get ready for tournament play quick.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Joining us now is Howard Meeks, and he's the head coach of the St. Mary's Girls, but he's also the vice president of the West Virginia Hometown Invitational over on the girls' side. Coach Meeks, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Hey, Bill and Joe, it's my pleasure, guys. I've been always meaning to call in, but
you're a busy man on Friday nights, right?
I'm just getting a little slower. Well, you got a good friend, Craig Dutton. He calls in a lot and keeps you guys posted up and stuff like that. But no, I'm over here in the big town of Mill Creek, West Virginia tonight at Hotel Mike DePasquale, the athletic director of Tigris Valley, and the former girls coach at Tigris Valley, and he's a big reason that me and him, Walmsley and several. The boys coaches, 9 years ago started the boys side of the Hometown Invitational, and so we set this is our 7th year in the girls side, and just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about all the schools getting ready to come. One, let them know that that Route 250 into Mill Creek is clear enough for me to drive in there. I know the bus is making it tomorrow. We're just thankful the weather is going to give us a break, and looks like we're going to get our games in and have a Division II championship. Band's going to take on Clay Battelle, and then in the nightcap, Cameron will be the host. They're the defending champion, and then they'll be hosting St. Mary's, our team. Unfortunately, our girls had one of their best games of the year a few weeks ago, and I'm proud of it. But I had to go down there with our good friend Rick Marone, and they were getting ready to, had a party to celebrate his 400th win, and we kind of, went in there and got stole a win out of Tulsa, which is not easy to do in there. But just a lot of good teams in this tournament, and just wanted to give a shout out, to everybody that's getting ready to travel, and and all the girls from all the small corners of West Virginia that we get together and get to see some of the athletes and get to learn a little bit about them.
Coach Marone has talked a lot about this tournament, on our show, and it gives the opportunity for these teams to travel into places they've never seen before.
Well, that's one. I know. Last year, you can look at it, the glass half full or the glass half empty, and I know last year, we're having struggling with a very young team, and we had to travel, and we traveled to East Hardy, in big town of Baker, and then turn right around and go to Greenbrier West 4 or 5 days later. But looking back at it, I got seniors that that graduated, and some young girls that that they're talking about all the different places in West Virginia that they would have never seen. And I was sitting having dinner with Jeff from Paw, the athletic director there, and talking about his girls last year. They went down to Charleston, and it's the first time many of their girls ever got to go to the Capitol building and tour it and stuff. And so that's what it's more than just basketball. I know we've taken our girls to different tournament sites and used that as an opportunity to visit a local college and allow our girls to learn about how to make an official visit and stuff like that, because not all of them's going to play basketball, obviously, out of our programs at the next level. But, a lot of them hopefully are going on to trade schools or some kind of college. And it just gives them an opportunity to turn this into an educational experience as well.
Coach, just looking at your schedule and just hearing you talk about it, some of these trips can be a little long. And I've asked other coaches this question, but how does that do a team when you have a lot of time to spend together, the camaraderie and, just getting to know each other a little better? How does that transform to the basketball court?
Obviously when things are clicking and things are going well, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes when things aren't going so well, the more you spend time with somebody, the more you learn to put up with stuff and to communicate, and you watch teams grow. So, for us, it's always been a positive. Obviously there's different philosophies on these long trips, but with being able to schedule them Saturdays and the way that Mike has helped organize it, where we actually get together the first Sunday in January and we seed it. And it'd be nice if the state got together and was able to seed that, but I know it's too hard to do that. And the seedings come out really fair, and then by pod play we schedule each other, and that way we're guaranteed games. And even the low seed, in a bracket is guaranteed a home game, and which is something that's unique with what we're doing now. And it's just. For us, it's been a real positive, and I know this is our 7th year, and we've been fortunate enough to be in the final 6 times in 7 years now and win the first 4. And, we've played some great Gilmer teams. We played a Clay Battelle team, I think our 3rd year, when they were undefeated in the hit. And without the hit, I really feel several of my teams that, like especially in 2013 and 2014, maybe doesn't get that postseason experience ready soon enough, and maybe we don't play St. Joe in the state championship games those years without this tournament. No, we played a very good. Mike's, had Tigers Valley had a couple nice teams with the our girl that went to D&E and stuff. So I know there's been several teams that advanced into the state tournament, but besides that, I really feel. A couple, a Union, has, a girl that makes first team All-State. And, sometimes these smaller schools, it's hard, they're so small, they're called Division II in our tournament. And, but when they come over and get seen by other schools like our programs, and they came over that year and played Work County and the St. Mary's Invite, and the Parkersburg News got to see it. And so, a girl that's worked her entire career, through AAU and stuff in a small town, has an opportunity to be seen and earn first team All-State honors that I don't think happens without this kind of tournament. So, we're awful proud of it, and the busing's part of it, but we also do a good job if teams are in a conference and play each other a lot. 4 or 5 seed, how much does it matter? Can we move? And so there's a lot of cooperation among the coaches, and I think we're having a lot of success.
All right, Howard Meeks, head coach of the girls St. Mary's team and also vice president of the Hometown Invitational tournament. I've heard nothing but great things about that tournament. And, Coach, get some rest. You'll be on hardwood tomorrow, and sectionals will be here in less than 2 weeks.
Sure, and I just want to shout out to Coach Marone. I know he's got a loss in his family, and we want to give a big thanks to Antero Resources, who's sponsoring the boys and girls tournament this year, and just all everybody that works for them throughout the state, for what they do for the state of West Virginia.
All right, Coach.
And thanks again for having us on tonight, guys.
Absolutely, we enjoyed talking to you, and we hope to have you back on before the season's over.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right, Coach Howard Meeks, head coach of the girls team at St. Mary's and also vice president of the Hometown Invitational. That's a tournament. And Rick, Coach Marone, has talked so much about that, these tournaments, and how they go to places they've never been and face competition otherwise they would never face.
And St. Mary's is in a unique part of the state, and it would be real easy, Joe, for those teams to schedule just up and down Route 2, just to stay on Route 2 and schedule up and down Route 2. But, the competitive advantages, as Coach Meeks talked about, that his girls get and have gotten over the years by playing kind of outside their region, kind of playing outside of Route 2 there, gives them a unique advantage. Because here's the thing, even when you go to sectionals, you go to regionals, you're going to play those schools outside of your area, and you want to have had that experience already before you get there.
I give a lot of shout out to these single A girls coaches who I would use the term a lot of times as far as that classification is concerned, they kind of work in the shadows, because who you talk about when you talk about single A girls basketball, you talk about two schools, you talk about Wheeling Central, and obviously you talk about Huntington St. Joe.
Right.
These schools like St. Mary's, they have good solid programs. And they work it and work it hard, but they don't get a lot of recognition because you have the big elephants in the room, so to speak. But
and Bill, they're on opposite sides of the state. I mean, you talk about Wheeling Central, you've got to go up north. You talk about Huntington St. Joe, you've got to come here. And when you play those schools, there's times in single A, especially, you're going to travel a little bit.
Right. Much more to come as we need to take a break here on Basketball Friday Night. Our standout athlete of the week, Taylor Dunfield, will join us. Ron Arrowwood, head coach of Tays Valley Christian. And you're going to have to help me with this name, Brent
Jolliker.
Will join us also talking about the upcoming WV Cat tournament coming up here in just a couple of weeks. More to follow on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. Hear sports writers, broadcasters, coaches, players, and your calls recapping your team's game. Visit basketballnight.com for more details on how you can become part of the show. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Thanks to everyone tonight that called, sent text, tweets, and emails. We appreciate you being part of the show and helping us cover all high school basketball in West Virginia. Join us on the phone tonight. Share your team's game. Call toll-free 855-784-6677, 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Text the show 304-249-4924, 304-249-4924. Go to our website, check out the scoreboard, find out how you can get connected with the show tonight at basketballnight.com. Don't forget to join us and vote in this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight. This week's question, should the number of fouls before a high school player is disqualified from a game be increased from 5 to 6. Give us a yes or no. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. It's all here at Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Rapidly approaching the 11 o'clock hour, 10:48 here in the state of West Virginia. We're talking a lot of high school basketball game. We've talked a little bit about a lot of different schools we haven't talked about tonight, and we're going to do that some more here in just a few minutes. But Bill, weather, all the weather that's gone on the last few days, it's kind of drove the schedule crazy tonight.
Yeah, it just a couple of nights ago, it just absolutely was just, there was no way you were going to get folks out on the road, even though it wasn't a snow situation. It was so cold. I mean, we had parts of the state we were below zero. Here in the Huntington area, yesterday morning, it was 2 right during the morning rush hour for like 2.5 hours. I mean, it stayed there. So, I mean, that was obviously, and you have a lot of games on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and things did stack up. A few did get played. Of course, we talked with Rick Chafin, and Midland and Spring Valley did play last night, although both Cabell and Wayne County schools did not have session yesterday. But not tonight, it's the snow. And we're getting a little tight as far as the schedule is concerned. We've turned into February. Today's February the 1st. Tomorrow's Groundhog Day. Hard to believe.
Boy, it is.
It is. They're going to be getting up early in Punxsutawney tomorrow for that. But you kind of have to be really delicate. Obviously, you can only play where you have holes in your schedule. But again, you have to take a little time and think about, am I going to stack up too many games in too few days? Am I going to wear my guys out? And if you do it at the wrong point in the schedule, is it going to hurt you when you get into postseason?
And joining us now will be Taylor Dunfield, our standout athlete of the week from Montcalm High School down in Mercer County. Taylor, good evening and welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Good evening. Hi.
How's the weather down in Mercer County tonight? We've talked about it across the state, but I haven't had any reports from down that way.
It's cold.
And it's been cold. That's the elevation down there. Do you have any snow on the ground?
A little bit, but not really.
Yeah, not too bad. Anyway, Taylor is a 3-year starter for the Montcalm Generals. Her freshman year, she played quite a bit. And talk about your basketball days at Montcalm.
Honestly, I love playing for Montcalm. It's a small school, so truly everyone that started in middle school and played in middle school has played throughout all of high school. So you really get a chance to grow as a team and really learn how to work together. And that's what I really love about my team. We know each other's strong suits and we know our weaknesses, so we know how to work together as a good team.
You might be one of the players that's not the tallest on the team. How does that come into play for you?
I'm definitely not one of the tallest, and for me being a forward and being the size I am, I have to learn how to be smart and play the game. My coach reminds me all the time about how she was about my size when she was in college, but that didn't stop her from pulling down, a lot of boards. So I just always got to remember that I just need to use my body and box out, and I just got to try and find different ways to use my size to my advantage rather than having it as a disadvantage for my position.
Taylor, your ball club's been able to blow out to a 10-4 record so far this year. And you guys, something that we really admire on this show is you guys take on all comers. You don't limit yourself to single-A schools, but you're playing double-A schools. I noticed you had a game with Oak Hill that you won a couple of weeks ago. And obviously you've got really competitive regional and sectional games. Got a couple of games with Summers County. Of course, they beat you a little earlier, so a good challenge in scheduling. You guys have done pretty well.
Yeah, our coach likes to give us a little bit of a tougher schedule, but truly the team loves it because it gives us a challenge, and we set our goals high, and we wouldn't be able to achieve what we've achieved if we were playing easy teams. We want to challenge ourselves and truly push ourselves to show everyone just how good of a team we truly are.
Taylor, off the court, I guess in the classroom, you have a 4.0 GPA. Is that tough to keep up with your schoolwork during basketball season?
Yes, it's very tough, but there's just a lot of nights where you just get together and do homework on the bus on your way home, on the way to a game, and surely our team's good for working with that. And you just got to learn about time management and how to balance everything. And it's just a thing you got to know, not to take on too much, but you just got to know how to work around it and work with your schedule.
And speaking of that, we learned from our report about you. Basically, your sports season doesn't end because you play 3 sports?
Yes, I'm busy all year round, not only on the floor or in the field. I'm busy in school, and I play volleyball, basketball, and softball, so my schedule is very busy during the school year.
I heard you said something a minute ago. You talk about doing your homework on your way to or from a game?
Yeah.
Wow. You may be an inspiration to other student athletes across the state.
Haven't you heard of hot spots? They work pretty much everywhere you got service.
I feel for your I feel for your poor parents, Taylor, because my son played 3 sports, and I'm sure your folks are chasing you all over where you're playing volleyball, basketball, and softball. Got to ask you real quick, though. Your basketball season, as Bill mentioned, is starting to come to a close. You're going to get to that tournament play here before too long. Do you feel like you guys as a team have peaked yet? Do you feel like you've still got good basketball to play? How do you feel like you're sitting where you want to be as far as the season goes?
I feel like we're in a very good spot right now. Surely our main goal is just to, I think Summers County is probably our better person and other good team in our sectional. And they always give us a run for our money, so that's our goal. We always want to try and challenge ourselves, and we want to beat them, and we want to go to state. That's our goal. For the past 4 years, we've wanted to get to states, and each year we see us grow more and get farther along, but we truly just want to ride this out as far as we can, and I feel like there's still a lot of good basketball left to be played. I feel like no one has truly seen us to our full potential, but I feel like they will soon.
Taylor, what kind of goals have you set for yourself after high school?
After high school, I want to attend Bluefield College, and I want to major in elementary education and minor in physical ed. And, if it's God's will, then I might even play college ball.
Awesome. Congratulations on being selected as Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us. Taylor Dunfield, a senior at Montcalm High School.
And she's mentioned in Bluefield College, not to be confused with Bluefield State.
Right.
Two separate schools.
Right. Okay.
Which our coach, our head coach David Spencer played ball at Bluefield State. He likes to bring that up quite often, that there is a difference.
There is a difference.
Yes.
And this young lady did an outstanding interview. I've heard college players that didn't, speak so proficient and as give the answers.
I love
that
the way
did.
that she talked about multitasking, about on road trips, doing her homework, getting that done.
But parents don't get to do that, though, Bill. We have to drive and things like that. They can kind of relax on the bus, get their homework done. Meanwhile, the parents are chasing these kids. Trust me, they're chasing these kids everywhere.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention that they did their homework going to or from a game. I know, I played a little bit of sports early in high school. That was the farthest thing from my mind was homework. Oh, so much more to come. Coming up on the 11 o'clock hour, we're up against a break. But basketball. Bo Anderson is in the house. We have Ryan Arrowwood, head coach of Tays Valley Christian, and Brent Joliker, the chairman for the West Virginia Cat, coming up all in the next hour. Also, Jordan Mounts as well. More on the Fast Break Sports Network after this.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game, Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Special thanks to all of our affiliates tonight, WHJC in Matewan. We also want to thank 105 KQV, WKQV in Cowan, 105.5 FM, and heard in Braxton County on 106.9 FM. 103.7 Jack FM, WQWB in Fisher, the Valley's Watchdog. 1600 AM, WKKX Wheeling, 1370 AM, WVLY in Moundsville. Also, we're on Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel Singing News Radio, 92.5 FM, WTHM LP Ravenswood, Ripley. Nights Radio, 91.5 FM, WRSG Middleburn. Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg, 740 AM, 106.5 FM. Classic Hits, 106 WHFI Linside, 106.7 FM. 95 the Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM. The Voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM, WELW in Logan. Light Rock 93R, WRRR, St. Mary's, 93.9 FM. The Ticket, 102.3 FM, WMTD in Hinton, the greatest oldies of all time, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM, WQAZLP Edmund Beckley. 101.7 FM, WYAP-LP in Clay, WASP-LP in Huntington, WVWP-LP in Wayne, 90.7 FM, WFGH Fort Gay, Marshall University's flagship station, the Cutting Edge, 88.1 FM, WMUL in Huntington. And you can find us on Facebook, Basketball Night WV.
A proud supporter of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Carter G. Woodson Lyceum honors the father of Black history and proudly serves as a forum for issues of importance to Marshall University and the tri-state area. Please visit www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum and follow our tweets for major events during February, including a discussion of the significance of the year 1619 on February 7th and the African American Museum in Washington on February 19th. Educators will find information about a summer institute for teachers at www.marshall.edu/Woodson Lyceum. That's one word, Woodson Lyceum, WOODSON LYCEUM. The Lyceum was founded in 2016 by the Drinko Academy and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. To join tonight's program, call 855-78-HOOPS. That's 855-784-6677. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup for all the scores all the time. And visit basketballnight.com for a comprehensive look at schedules and standings for every team in the state. Stay tuned. Another hour of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia begins right now.
Welcome back. 2 down, 1 to go here on the fastest 3 hours in basketball. Basketball Friday Night, covering high school basketball across the great state of West Virginia. Now that we know you're looking for scores, and you can get those by going to our website at basketballnight.com. We'll try to get a score update here probably at the bottom of the hour, but the phone lines are backed up. We've got a full jam-packed hour to get through, so let's go right back to the phone lines. And joining us now is the chairman for the WV CAT State Tournament coming up real soon, Brent Joliker. Joliker. Okay, I knew I would butcher that up in some form or fashion. Anyway, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'll tell you what, we've had to put up with this guy, Mr. Sexton, all evening, and I'm going to turn it over to him to let him pick your brain here a little bit about your upcoming tournament.
Hey, Brent, I appreciate you joining us. The West Virginia Christian Athletic Tournament, talk a little bit about your involvement the last couple of years. You've run the tournament, and it's a little bit different format than what folks are used to with the West Virginia State High School Basketball Tournament. Talk a little bit about, just kind of an overall view of the WV CAT tournament.
Sure. This is actually our 11th year here in existence, and WVCAT exists to provide an opportunity for the Christian schools in the state of West Virginia to have an end-of-season state tournament. We do have a few schools that are members of the WVSSAC, but the majority of the Christian schools in the state of West Virginia are not. And so there's a real need to provide athletic opportunities and postseason tournaments for them. Our basketball tournament's open to any Christian school in the state of West Virginia. We guarantee every team to play at least 2 games in the tournament. You've got to win them all and win your first game to be eligible to win the title, but we give everybody at least 2 games in the tournament. Our varsity state tournament is in Summersville, West Virginia at the National Guard Armory there. We've got 8 teams participating this year in both the boys and girls division. Some years we've had a few more than that. This year we've got 8 teams competing. It's been a very competitive tournament, and it's really grown in both attendance and in the competitiveness over the last few years.
And you mentioned the Summersville Guard Armory. That is a fantastic place. I know when I first got involved 4 years ago when my son was a freshman, it was at the Beckley, Raleigh County Armory, and then it moved to Summersville. Talk about the advantages that Christian schools have with Summersville and why the decision was made to move to Summersville.
Yeah, we actually, in our first year, we didn't really have a location, and Taze Valley Christian School hosted the tournament for us. But we wanted to get it into a neutral site for our schools as well, and give our kids an opportunity to travel and see other places. Like I heard you guys talking about with the hometown invitational there earlier. And we actually went to Summersville for a few years, and then there were a couple years we were in Beckley, but we went back to Summersville. It's a great location for basketball, and right there in the center of the state. It's something that is they've worked great with us in providing a beautiful facility for playing basketball. Plenty of seating there, and it's just our kids love it. It's a great gym. It's a good environment. It gives our opportunity for all our schools to kind of come in. It's a small town. Everybody's there. Everybody's in the gym all day watching these games play, and it's just really a great environment for basketball.
Of course, Grant, we've had several coaches, folks involved with the Christian schools on tonight. We're going to have a couple more, but I made the comment that I really thought that the quality of the competition, the quality of the teams just keeps growing year and year. If you're a basketball fan, don't matter who you're a basketball fan of, your tournament is a good one to go to because you're going to see some outstanding talent, plus kids who are getting a good grounding morally and certainly spiritually in life as well as educationally.
Most definitely. I mean, our Christian schools exist for a reason, and basketball is important. Athletics are important too, and athletics many times is one of the most visible areas that a school has to the outside, and competitiveness is important to us, and we've been very glad and proud to see the competition level of the schools in our tournament increase through the years, and it's brought kids into our school. They've seen the quality of play, and as you know, I teach at Grace Christian School in Huntington, and I coached there for a number of years, and as we've seen our schools in the WVCAT be able to schedule outside public schools like Midland that you've talked to here this evening and other schools in the area, it's gained exposure for our schools, and the basketball level is increasing. And I agree with you. You're going to see some great basketball here at these tournaments.
And I've got the boys part of the bracket. Of course, that's the one I work with most closely. Cross Lanes will be the number 1 seed, Cross Lanes Christian. Calvary Baptist Academy, the 2 seed. Taze Valley Christian, the number 3 seed. Grace Christian, the 4 seed. Mercer Christian, the 5 seed. Wood County Christian, the 6 seed. Victory Christian, the 7th seed, and Mount Hope Christian, the 8th seed. So you're right. You're covering Christian schools from all over the state. And again, Brent, the atmosphere is important, but the quality of play, to Bill's point, is equally as important. When you put a tournament like this together, what's your ultimate goal as a tournament director? What do you want to see ultimately from a tournament that you put on?
I'd love to be able to walk out when it's all done on Saturday afternoon without complaint. That's my number 1 goal. But I'm looking for good competitive basketball. we're looking for, we want to provide an outlet, an opportunity for our kids and for our student athletes to display the talents that the Lord has given them as well in a competitive atmosphere, but also a great spirit of sportsmanship is very important to us in our schools, and foster a sense of community across the state. We've got 11 different schools total represented in our tournament across all divisions this year. We've had over 20 different schools across the state in years past that have at one form or another. And we do see kids from all over the state part of this, and it has grown in popularity. People are noticing, asking to come in and join each year, and we're just wanting to provide that opportunity and exposure. We've had some colleges come in just to kind of advertise and sponsor as part of these tournaments as well, and we're trying to give exposure to our kids in every way possible so that they can take the talents that God's given them, the character that's being developed in these schools, and use them in the next level if they want to go on athletically, but also whatever God's called them to and whatever their future holds for them. We're wanting to mold our young men and women to be people of good character, and we feel like we can really display that in a spirit of competition as well.
We're talking to Brent Joliker, the chairman for the WV Cat. Thanks for joining us on Basketball Friday Night, and I hope we can get you back on in a couple of weeks and talk as the tournament's underway.
Well, thank you very much for having me. We'd love to do that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brent.
And we'll stay right with the phone lines and going to Ryan Arrowwood, the head coach of the Tays Valley Christian Prep team, joining us now here on Basketball Friday Night. Coach, good evening and welcome.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here.
Talk about your team just a little bit and tell us what kind of players and what kind of what you've seen so far this season.
We've got 5 seniors, and 4 of those guys have been here for 2 years, which has been big for us. A couple of them, this is their 3rd year, which you don't always get at our level. We've really tried to build that to where we've got guys for multiple years. Had a pretty successful year, started the season 14-0, was ranked as high as 32nd in the country. Lost by 3 to Huntington Prep there right at the beginning of the new year, and lost at Legacy Charter. But just beat Wesley Christian, and the best thing is I tell people all the time, our guys they do things the right way. They come in, they practice hard every day, they buy into our culture. So as far as high school coaching, I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the country. We get to come in, we get to work, we get to develop every day. So we're excited of this month. February is a big month for us. We'll play 4 teams that are currently ranked in the top 25 in the country. Over 25 high major players. So it's going to be a fun run.
You guys are 16-2, Coach, and again, you mentioned the seniors that you've had. Of course, you've got Anderson Marambu, 6'8", about 295. I remember when Anderson came in about 3 years ago. He was a cheeseburger away from 315. It was. I told our guys last year when we played you guys at the end of the season. If you ever tried to guard a refrigerator or a left tackle, that's Anderson. Yeah. But Anderson, the thing about him that a lot of people don't realize, he's a big guy, but man, he can really go outside and shoot it. You've got a great shooter in Mason Shiflett, another one in Steven Verplanken from Belgium. Talk about those 3 guys in particular. Those are 3 Division I players you have on your roster.
I mean, yeah, we're very blessed. We've been able to develop some talent. Steven Verplanken, Luis Herrera is also in those 4 seniors there who started every game for us this year. 3 of those guys have Division I scholarships. Steven has multiple Division IIs. They didn't have any when they came here. You'd love to say, these guys have just worked their tails off, and they're talented. So, they've come in. We're just very, very blessed. Mason Shiflett, anybody that knows him knows the type of kid he is. But all of them have different personalities, have come from different places in the world. and they all just have one common goal. The basketball side of it's taking care of itself. They're playing at a really high level. I'd love for people, and Brian, you can attest to it. I just love for people to spend a day with them in the school. They're just great kids that I'm very blessed I get to coach. Anderson, you mentioned him. He was probably our most highly recruited player. Unfortunately, had a Jones fracture last year, so had 16 scholarship offers, 13 of them go away. Didn't have the summer he'd really wanted to because of the weight, but he is playing. To be very honest, as far as offensively, I don't think there's a better big in America, and I know like a lot of people, but he's unguardable right now. The way he can step outside and the way he can, take somebody down on the block. The thing that doesn't get talked about is his passing ability. He's the best passing big I've ever coached. So I've coached some really good bigs. Thomas Bryant, who's playing for the Washington Wizards. He was a great big, but offensively, Anderson's the best big I've ever coached.
Coach, Bill Cornwell here. Of course, people who may not be knowledgeable about you. You were a big part of the Huntington Prep program for several years. You mentioned Thomas Bryant, but basically you kind of entered virgin territory when you basically started that Tays Valley Prep program from scratch. Talk about the challenges and the work as far as just trying to build a reputation and build a new a new tradition out there. When and I know that some of the contacts you've made over the years through Huntington Prep have had to help a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. But, the number one thing was I didn't take the job to replicate Huntington Prep or to do anything else. I'm from Hannon High School, and I had a coach by the name of Wayne Richardson, who's one of the greatest men I've ever met. And I tasted what a great culture is in high school basketball. And we were able to make an amazing run, and that's impacted my life in every facet. So the number one thing we wanted to do was build the right culture, and I can't think of a better place to do it than Tays Valley Christian. The administration has been fantastic. So building the right culture has been the number one thing. And that's really been our recruiter. When we bring kids in, we're very honest with them. Hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. If you want exposure, you can get that here, but that's not why you're coming. You're coming to be developed on the court, in the classroom, and to grow spiritually. It's who we are. And, we've built that culture with great people and great players, and we're having success this year, but none of it's possible without the kids we've had in the past. None of it's possible without the kids that are in the school. So it's a really special environment. And where we're so small, not everybody gets to see it. I watched the Chapmanville-Logan game on stream, and what an awesome atmosphere. Being from West Virginia, that's an awesome atmosphere. But we get that some. The Huntington Prep game, if no one's been to the Tays Valley Christian Huntington Prep game at Tays Valley, that's a special place to be. And that's been the fun part of it. Anybody that knows me knows I hate losing. But this group has really made me realize. Yeah, Brian will attest.
Yep.
Right now, I don't really care about winning or losing. I just care about are we trying to get better every day. And with that approach, amazingly, the winning and the losing is kind of taking care of itself. These seniors are very, very special. So you go back now for the last calendar year, we've lost 3 games. And that's not a testament to coaching. That's a testament to these players and their buy-in and how they approach every single day.
Well, I got to tell you, 4 seasons ago, rather, you handed me a microphone before one of the games, and it's kind of changed my life. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Coach Arrowwood.
Thank you, Coach. We enjoyed having him tonight, and always reports.
And hi to your wife, Rudy Raines, who's a friend of mine, and love her to death.
I will do. Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you, Coach. Talk to you soon.
Uh-huh.
All right, Coach Ryan Arrowhead, the head coach of the Tays Valley Christian Prep team.
He's part of a basketball family because his wife, Rudy Arrowwood, is the daughter of Coach Raines, who coached for years at Poca.
And he mentioned Hannon High School. He was a part of that Magnificent Seven team that went all the way and won the single A state championship. And he mentioned Wayne Richardson. Wayne actually coached the Taze Valley varsity team last year and did a great job. And Wayne's a phenomenal guy.
Final story, one of the best ever marriage proposals. Ryan proposed to Rudy at center court at Madison Square Garden.
Wow, that's cool. And
Beautiful.
And her name's very popular out there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if you know who we're talking about. Anyway, we got to take a break. Much more to come in the next segment here on Basketball Friday Night. On deck, Jordan Mounts of WFGH. Marcus Constantino, not in studio, our glue, and the guy that runs everything behind the scenes, coming up with the power rankings. That and much more here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
This is high school basketball's voice in the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Marshall University's sports journalism Rager offers students the opportunity to develop skills in the exciting areas of print, public relations, or broadcasting. Our curriculum features terrific skill-based courses and prioritizes hands-on experiences that not only expose the students' work to the public, but also to sports journalism professionals who are often willing to provide crucial feedback. Marshall sports journalism majors cover our 15 varsity teams in any media format, including text, online, photo, radio, or video. Hands-on real-life experiences come through Marshall student-powered media, the Parthenon, WMUL Radio, MUTV, as well as communications campaigns and off-campus internships. The Marshall University School of Journalism and Mass Communications is ready and eager to help you start your sports journalism career. Learn more at marshall.edu/SOJMC. Welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Join us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Send us your scores by text 304-249-4924, 304-249-4924. Join us at basketballnight.com. And don't forget to sign up for the Daily Hoops Roundup, part of basketballnight.com. Every day we recap the day's scores just for you on all teams in West Virginia. We send followers an email at 8 a.m. with the Daily Hoops Roundup. And, of course, you can also go to our website and check the day's scores there. We want you to become part of our reporting crew during the week, too. Join us at @hoops_roundup.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Joe Linville sitting in the hot seat tonight. Brian Sexton with us tonight. Bill Cornwell. And Bo Anderson is in the house. Bo, good to have you.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here tonight. And, of course, obviously, I'm here for one reason. That's because my game got snowed out tonight.
I can't believe that. Anyway, we got a couple calls we need to take before we get into our conversation with Bo. Joining us now from WFGH and Glen Hayes, West Virginia, had the call of the Tug Valley Sherman game tonight. Jordan Mounts, a regular here on Basketball Friday Night. Good evening. And what happened in the Valley tonight?
Well, guys, I tell you, it was a great game down at Tug Valley. If you're a Panther fan, that is. It was just both of these teams, Tug Valley and Sherman, are both two teams that are sort of rebuilding their programs a little bit right now. A very young team for both squads out there. In fact, actually, there was not a senior that started the ball game for either team. So just goes to tell you exactly how young these two teams are. But overall, it was a good game for Tug Valley, a much-needed game. They're coming off of a defeat, an overtime defeat there that they took at home to the Tulsa Rebels, as much as that pains me to say, because that is such a big rivalry between those two schools. But, I better watch what I say, considering my radio station's based out of Tulsa High School.
That's exactly right.
in the end, good win for the Panthers. We cued sweet victory after that game, and it was a good game to watch.
All right, Jordan, you got a question for Bo? He's in the house and ready to go.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna hang on here till we do our residential referee.
You don't
segment,
have time to hang on, so you go ahead and ask your question, and we'll move on.
Hey, that'll work for me, guys. I know you got calls backing up, but no, actually, Bo had a situation earlier in the year in a game. I won't mention exactly who it was, but there was a situation where there was a player that took a shot, and what appeared to be there was, I think the correct terminology is basket interference. We had a kid from the opposing team jump up, grab the net, bend the rim down, hold it, and flip it up. There was no call made on the play. The official explanation to the coach at the end of the game was the ball was not within the cylinder of the rim. Can you further explain that one to us a little bit?
Well, basket interference is on the rim, within the cylinder, above the rim, inside the basket, and the net and the ring are part of basket interference. So if that ball is within the cylinder, or if it's on the rim or in the basket, they cannot touch the rim or the net or the ball, nor can they pull it down and bring it up to where it strikes the ball and puts, that in a situation where that ball goes in or out. So you would have basket interference in that case if those situations were to occur. A lot of people get that confused with goaltending, and goaltending is an entirely different scenario. That's outside the rim, downward flight, reasonable chance to go in. So there's two different scenarios, and basket interference would have been what the call would have been in that scenario.
Hey, Jordan, what's
right? Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say. Go ahead and make your comment.
I was going to say the situation that I was taking place. The ball had started on its trajectory down, was not in contact with the rim at the point in time in which the basket interference had occurred. And I was wondering I was going to clarify that a little bit.
Well, in that case, grabbing the rim or pulling the ring down and stuff like that would involve you cannot grab the rim or pull it down. That would involve possibly a technical foul in that scenario, because the ball was not in those situations, and it would be you can't just jump up and do that. You cannot pull yourself up on the backboard to get a greater height. Anything that's an advantage that you're not allowed to do. That situation, pulling down the ring and the net and stuff would be a technical foul in that case instead of basket interference.
Jordan, I hate to cut you off.
Right.
We're way behind schedule, but again, thanks for calling in, and we look forward to having you back in the studio real soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on. Go Panthers.
All right. Jordan Mounts of WFGH with the call the Tug Valley Sherman game earlier this evening. And if we can get the buttons to work here like they're supposed to, and they don't want to for some reason. Here we go now. It's kicking in. Joining us now is normally a regular here in the studio, Marcus Constantino. He's our air traffic controller, the glue behind the scenes, and a little bit of everything else. And he is actually on the road this evening. Marcus, welcome to Basketball Friday Night.
Thank you, Joe. And it's weird being on this side of the show. First time I ever have been. And the weirdest part was after Alice, when you call into the show, Alice upstairs, answers the calls. And after she puts you on hold, it's my voice that tells you, to turn down your radio and, all that stuff. So I was talking to myself, waiting to come on the show.
You've never talked to yourself before, right?
Of course not, Joe.
Hey, Marcus, I want to ask you, how's it feel to be on hold?
You would know, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, the best expert.
I'm thinking the same thing, Bo. When I call in on Friday nights, I'm hearing Marcus's voice, and then I'm on hold as well, too. So
I can assure you, I've been on hold longer than you have.
You probably have.
Oh, Bo has the ultimate. He's got the championship.
Does he hold the record right now?
Oh, I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. Anyway, Marcus has got the updated power rankings. So what are we looking like tonight, Marcus?
Well, Joe, we've got a few change-ups this week. Starting in girls AAA, the Greenbrier East Spartans holding on to the number 1 spot. Parkersburg hanging on to number 2. The Big Reds are 16-1. Wheeling Park staying at number 3 at 13-4. The Musselman Applemen remain at number 4 with a 10-5 record. And the Woodrow Wilson Flying Eagles stay around at number 5. They're 10-6. Moving on to girls AA, Wyoming East Warriors staying around at number 1. They're 15-2. North Marion also remains at number 2 with a 15-4 record. Fairmont Senior Polar Bears are 16-2 at number 3. Here's a big change. The Sissonville Indians jumped up 5 spots into number 4. The Indians are 15-2 on the year. And finally, the Wayne Pioneers are hanging at number 5 at 14-3. On to girls single A. St. Joe's still far away at number 1, while Parkersburg Catholic stays at number 2. Magnolia is number 3. The Madonna Blue Dons also jump up 5 spots into the number 4 slot, and the Pocahontas County Warriors drop down 1 spot into number 5. Moving on to the boys basketballnight.com power ratings. The Martinsburg Bulldogs are 17-0, perfect record at number 1. University remains at number 2. The Morgantown Mohegans move up a spot. They're 9-6. They move up to number 3, while George Washington drops 1 spot to number 4, and Wheeling Park stays put at number 5. In boys AA, the Chapmanville Tigers are 14-2 at number 1. Fairmont Senior is 14-1 at number 2. The Bluefield Beavers are 12-0 at number 3. Shady Spring is 13-2. That's good for number 4, while the Logan Wildcats round out the top 5 with a 15-2 record. Now on to the boys single A basketballnight.com power ratings. This one's a really close race for 1, 2, and 3. Wheeling Central Catholic is 11-4 at number 1. Notre Dame is number 2 at 13-2, and the Webster County Highlanders still undefeated at 15-0. All 3 of these teams within 900ths of a point of one another, so that's really an open field for anyone right now. Meanwhile, the Greater Beckley Christian Crusaders remain at number 4, and Trinity Christian rounds out the top 5. That's the basketballnight.com power ratings. You can check them out anytime at basketballnight.com. Back to you, Joe.
All right, Marcus, thank you very much. Of course, we talked to Coach Rich Gaines last week about this lady Sissonville team, and, right now they're standing at 15-2. They just jumped right in there tonight in those rankings. Oh, I guess Marcus dropped off on us there. He did. So
he's vamoosed.
He's on the road tonight, so he's probably looking for a warm bed and to get off the highway tonight. So
Greater Beckley is really playing well this year in the boys single A. We got a chance to play them this year, and it was an old-fashioned butt kicking from the Crusaders. To Calvary Baptist.
And that Webster County team, they've had a great season, and, they still keep hanging in there with that undefeated record. So anyway, we need to take a break, and we'll have more with our resident referee, Bo Anderson, when we come back. You're listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
For scores online, all of them in West Virginia, visit basketballnight.com. Thanks for joining us and being part of the show. We also give congratulations out tonight to Taylor Dunford, Montcalm Generals. She was selected as a standout athlete of the week. She joins R.J. Klein from the Sherman Tide, Jesse Muncie Tulsa Rebels, Anna Hamilton, Nicholas County Grizzlies, Jordan Kish, Chapmanville Tigers, Madison Blankenship, Riverview Raiders, and Marley Washington's Fairmont Senior Polar Bears. What they all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did your team have an athlete make an outstanding play, you can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Congratulations this week to Taylor Dunford of the Montcalm Generals. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab, fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. You got a few minutes left for our poll question. Head over to our website, and the poll question is on the right-hand side of the page. Join us on Twitter at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Thank you to Priscilla Pierce and May C. joining us tonight on Twitter and becoming part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Joe Linville, Brian Sexton, Bill Cornwell, and Bo Anderson in the house. You've been here about all evening, Bo, and we've had you on hold as usual.
Well, at least I don't have to worry about, having my speaker on or anything like that. It makes it a little bit easier. And since I didn't have a game tonight, I thought I'd come up because this is the first Friday night I've had off in basketball season. And I don't know what to do with myself, I guess is what I should say.
Well, anyway, you don't have the whistle. But one thing I do want to talk a little bit about tonight is because I saw a game last night where there was a lot of tall basketball players that could get up there and reach. I want to talk a little bit about goaltending. What is the rules for goaltending? When do they come into effect at the location of the ball? And then I may ask you a couple follow-up questions to that.
Sure. And I was fortunate enough to get used to that at an early age. Like when I was, when I started, I worked the Scott Community League, and that's whenever college basketball players could play in that league years ago on 16th Street in Huntington. And I got to referee some guys that went on to the pros. Ron Moore, West Virginia State brought 3 7-footers down. Guys like Rodney Holden, Mark Klein, all those guys played in that. Jeff Battle, to name a few. And so I got used to refereeing goaltending and basket interference and seeing dunks at an early age. So I had the opportunity to do that, which a lot of guys don't get to see too often. So what in the goaltending, the ball is outside the cylinder, downward flight, reasonable chance to go in. If it's that scenario, then nobody on offense or defense can touch it. If it's going to be an air ball or something that's under the rim, we have nothing. So it's got to be above the rim, outside the cylinder, downward flight, reasonable chance to go in.
Bo, you see a lot of defensive goaltending, but what we don't see a lot of times is offensive goaltending, where, the ball, as you mentioned, is in the cylinder, and you've got somebody pretty aggressively crashing the boards on the offensive side, and they go up and offensively goaltend. When you're working a game, how often do you see an offensive goaltending?
Not so much the goaltending as basket interference. I don't think that I've ever had offensive goaltending, but basket interference I have, where they are going to go ahead and try to slam it back through. It's above the cylinder, on the rim or within the cylinder, and they try to put it back in there whenever they should have left it alone. The offensive goaltending, I can honestly say that this is my 36th year of officiating high school basketball, and I don't think I've ever had the offensive goaltending part of it.
See, that's what I meant was basket interference. I'm showing my age, and it's late at night, but that's what I meant was basket interference, because, again, the defensive side of the ball, the guys are going up either trying to knock it off the backboard as it's on its downward flight, or trying to do something to alter the shot as it's inside the cylinder or going downward off the backboard. But offensively, you'll see guys get aggressive and try to tip it in real quick or get real close to the cylinder when they're actually inside the cylinder and not realizing it.
Yeah, that happens. And, when you got players that can jump like that, and we have several that can do that. As an official, you just got to really be focused. And, with a three-man crew, we have different areas, different parts that we're covering. The outside officials are responsible for basket interference and goaltending, and a three-man, that would be what we call the trail in the center. The lead is not the person under the basket. It's just a matter of, we got to be focused and not let the unexpected hit us.
Bo, getting back to the goaltending, what about the trajectory of a ball coming in maybe like sideways up to the glass, but it hasn't actually started downward, even if it's a high? What about the goaltending there?
It would be fine. You see a lot of guys that jump up and pin the ball on the backboard, and that's fine. Now, once it's hit the backboard, then now we're coming down. Now we can't do it. But on the way up, or if it's not above there yet, then that's fine. That's part of the game, and just let them pin it on the board, and we'll have a good block, and we'll move on.
Bill, you got anything for the Bo tonight?
Actually, I do. Bo and I were both at the Marshall game last night against UTEP, and we saw one of the better officials in the country, Roger Ayers, have to deal with the situation. And we've talked about this. One of the disincentives for folks getting into officiating is dealing with abuse from off the court. And we saw Roger deal with an unruly fan who was sitting in the Jack Nicholson seats at the Cam Henderson Center last night. I thought that was very forthrightly taken care of, and I don't think he had any problems with the fans after that.
Well, if you're going to sit in the front row on the very front seats on the court, you had best behave. And if you don't behave, don't expect to be in the gym very long if you're doing something that's a distraction. I always teach our new class, don't let something ruin your game. So if somebody has got you out of focus, then you need to take care of that somebody, whether it be a fan, a coach, a player, whoever it is, they need to be taken care of. And, again, I'll mention this. I mentioned it last week. The OHSAA sent out a letter telling the fans, they sent it to all the parents, that they need to behave. And, we've got a shortage on officials. We've had games this week that I know of a situation where a game at 5:30 was not covered at 3:30. And nobody wants to do it anymore and stick with it. And so our new people, I try to teach them, hey, don't let people run you off. We need you.
Bo, we've got a rule at Calvary, and our coach instituted it this year because of, we went down to Greater Beckley, and our parents got a little upset with some calls and things like that. And so our coach, Coach Spencer, who we had on at the top of the show, said, listen, he told the boys, he said, if your parents are going to complain, it's going to cost you playing time. And he said, you better get to your parents and tell them, look, we represent Calvary Baptist Academy. We represent what's on the front of our jersey. And I think a lot of parents, Bo, and especially in the high school setting, don't realize that their kids represent not only the last name that could be on the back of their jersey and the family, but they also represent the community on the front of the jersey.
Absolutely.
What I've always told players, and it's the same way with me, you're a public figure. When you get out, you're in front of the public, so all the public's going to see. So if you're doing things not right, the public's going to see that. And then, I have many scenarios where I'm walking through a store during the summer and there's that guy called that foul on me last year. I remember him. Or, it can be good too. I've had a lot of people that come up and talk to me and say, hey, you worked my games 20 years ago. And, it's always a pleasure. It's great to be involved. But I admire coaches that take care of business. I had it earlier in the year. I called a tactical on a player, and I didn't get one step towards going to the scores table, and they already have sub there for him.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of coaches, take care of business, and then we don't have that many problems in the game.
One thing that certainly you have to have in a situation like that, you have to have good work with your ADs and your administrators of the game and at the school, because you don't always have law enforcement at a game So those administrators, if they are responsible, are going to take care of the situation in concert with you.
Absolutely, and I have to have the backing of the administration. And yes, especially in the lower level games, they don't always have. The administration is the law enforcement.
Yeah.
And so, we have to have total support from the schools. And, that's what's going to keep the game going because, guys, whether you like it or not, if the game doesn't have officials, it's going to be tough to enjoy it.
Guys, we got to take a break. Well, after the break, coming back, Cause will be with us. It'll be Cause time.
Yeah.
And we'll have our poll question of the week. We'll have the results from last week's question and a new question for this week. More on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia right after this here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
If you love basketball, then there's only one place to be on Friday nights after the game. It's Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates, including 1360 AM, 97.1 FM, WHJC, Mate 1. Also, you can hear us on 105 KQV, WKQV Cowan, 105.5 FM, and heard in Braxton County on 106.9 FM, 103.7 Jack FM, WQWV in Fisher, the Valley's Watchdog, 1600 AM, WKKX Wheeling, 1370 AM, WVLY Moundsville, Jackson County's home for Southern Gospel, Singing News Radio, 92.5 FM, WTHM LP, Ravenswood, Ripley, Nights Radio, 91.5 FM, WRSG Middleburn, Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg, 740 AM, 106.5 FM. Classic Hits 106, WHFI Linside, 106.7 FM. 95 The Sports Fox, WBES Charleston, 950 AM. The Voice of the Coalfields, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM, WVOW in Logan. Light Rock 93R, WRRR St. Mary's, 93.9 FM. The Ticket, 102.3 FM, WMTD in Hinton. The greatest oldies of all time, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM, WQAZLP, Edmond, Beckley. 101.7 FM, WYAPLP Clay. 104.5 FM, WASPLP Huntington. 101.1 FM, WVWPLP Wayne. 90.7 FM, WFGH Fort Gay. And Marshall University's flagship station, The Cutting Edge, 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, Bill Cornwell, Joe Linville, and Ryan Epling.
Actually, it's Joe Linville, Brian Sexton, Bill Cornwell, and our resident referee, Bo Anderson, in the house. Real quickly, let's go over to our score desk, and Mikey Ferguson has the results from our poll question from last week and our new poll question for the coming week. Mikey?
The poll question for last week, should the number of fouls before a high school player is disqualified from a game be increased from 5 to 6? 75% said no, 25% said yes. And this week's poll question is, should there be a flagrant foul in high school basketball? Yes or no? You can cast your vote at Basketball Friday Night or basketballnight.com, and that's a look at your Basketball Friday Night scores desk. Back to you, Joe.
All right, Mikey Ferguson, he's a junior in high school and an intern here on the program. So, Mikey, appreciate you taking care of the poll question for us tonight. And, guys, what time is it? The answer is, it's Cause time.
Welcome to Rick Kozlowski's Jeopardy! Now it's time for Final Jeopardy! The name we call this segment here at Basketball Friday Night.
Those guys upstairs never cease to amaze me. Good evening, Mr. Cause.
How are you guys doing?
He's got the dictionary. He's afraid we're going to ask him a question, right?
Well, no, actually, I'm sitting here. I've already kind of like written a script. How's that?
All right. Before you get into your script, how is the weather over in the Panhandle?
Well, let's just say I hope the groundhog doesn't see its shadow tomorrow, so spring will be just around the corner.
How much snow you have?
Well, I shoveled probably about 4.5 inches out of my driveway today. We were supposed to get like a little dusting.
Yeah, the meteorologist kind of missed this one, I think, because I know up in the northern part of the state, they had upward, 6, 7, 8 inches in some areas and maybe a little more up in the Wheeling area. So anyway,
Now, I thought he was playing Jeopardy with us. He should have said, what is plowable snow?
Yeah, there you go.
What is shovelable snow?
Well, around here it's been so cold. I don't know how cold it has been down your way, but it's been extremely cold. And it wasn't necessarily, I mean, you could shovel it, you could plow it, but the snow was so light that you could take a broom and clean it that way.
Yeah, we had some single digits over in this part of the state, but I know some areas had sub-zero temps.
Wow, I was kind of watching the Midwest for, I guess, in my sense, obvious reasons, because I went to college out in Wisconsin, and I'm like looking at those temperatures thinking, oh my God. And then, you kind of think a little harder, and it's like, I experienced some of that stuff when I lived out there. But I'll tell you what, I don't like the cold, I don't like winter. I'm ready for spring, baby.
Martinsburg weather wasn't too bad compared to all that. So what's happening over in the Panhandle? Are we playing any basketball, or because all the school cancellations, no basketball?
I think there was one game this week, but I'll tell you what, I am intrigued. Here, I'm into the script now. I am intrigued by this weekend. While you can't compare scores because every game is different, when you see certain teams playing other teams, you kind of get an idea of how things might shake down, here a month from now when we go to Charleston for the state tournament. And when I look at that, I think, well, okay, Martinsburg right now, 17-0. They're likely to advance to Charleston. So how they have played against local teams here, like, say, Hedgesville or Spring Mills, then you take it and say, okay, what's going on elsewhere? So when I mentioned Martinsburg playing Hedgesville, they played last Friday, and Martinsburg came away with a victory. And then Martinsburg played Spring Mills on Wednesday, and came away with a victory. So I get to see a little bit of those games. Now you take Hedgesville, which is down in the Big Atlantic Classic right now. They play Greenbrier East. They defeated Greenbrier East. Has University tomorrow. University and Greenbrier East are certainly possible teams that could make the state tournament. So then you start looking. It's like, okay, well, we know how Hedgesville played against Martinsburg, and here's what Hedgesville did against Greenbrier East or University. So, okay, how does that translate? And then there's also, along those same lines, Spring Mills right now is down in the state capital. Played Capital tonight. And a high-scoring, fairly close game. So that gives you some kind of, idea of, what kind of game that was. Meanwhile, when I watched Martinsburg play Spring Mills the other day, Martinsburg, which I've said in the past, very good defense, kept Spring Mills in check and was able to score some, points. Now, tomorrow Spring Mills plays George Washington, defending state champion, the team that beat Martinsburg last year. Well, let's see, what kind of score might be from that game, and then you try to kind of like translate. But like I said, every game is different, so it's hard to compare scores.
And Spring Mills played tonight. George Washington played tonight and beat Parkersburg South. So 2 games and 2 nights there. But I love the way that Spring Mills has really kind of tested themselves around the state bid, that they're playing the 2 games in the Kanawha Valley. And, of course, they had Hurricane up there about 3 weeks ago. So they're certainly one of these teams taking on all comers.
Well, I think Spring Mills is trying to advance this program. I mean, the school's only been around for a handful of years. You have to start somewhere, and they're trying to get things going.
Hey, Cause?
Hey, what?
Meet Rick Sexton. Or, I'm sorry, Brian Sexton, and meet Rick Keselowski. You guys have never met, so he's got a question for you.
Hey, Kaz, you mentioned the 17-0 Martinsburg team and the schools around it. As Martinsburg heads on a collision course to get to Charleston, in the back of their mind, what is the one thing that might possibly keep Martinsburg from getting there? I mean, they're having a great season so far, but what would be the one thing that might stand in their way of a trip to the Charleston Civic Center in March?
I don't think anything. I mean, to be honest, I really don't think that team could get so big-headed that they flop in the game. I think there's enough balance in that team and enough experience from kids who played football on 3 straight state champions to realize what it takes and, to not let down, let's say, the wrong time of the season.
Looks like Martinsburg's going to have some road games. Of course, they got Morgantown tomorrow night there, but next week they travel to Musselman and to Preston, and then finish up the season with a road game at Jefferson, and then finish out their final game on the 15th against South Hagerstown, Maryland.
They played South Hagerstown at South Hagerstown already this season and won by like 50 points.
51?
Some points. Okay, so, I don't know that, you mentioned the road trips. I don't know that those shouldn't be much of a factor.
Yeah, I was going to say,
when you talk about going to Preston County, well, that's not quite as far as going to Morgantown. Martinsburg went up there on a midweek game, well, actually Monday, but a weekday game is what I meant to say, and had their way, with the Mohegans, and a game that a lot of people said might be Martinsburg's toughest game.
Of course, the closest game we've had all season was 4 points, and that was against Calhoun from Alabama.
Well, I think, all things considered, probably all of us might like to be in Alabama right now. Might be a little warmer.
Yeah, they played that game in Hilton Head.
Yeah,
so
that's right. They were on the road for that one.
That was. But I was just going to say, they have won by large margins all season to get to their 17-0 record, Cause. And again, is there any thought or any chance of, hey, what will these kids, how will they react if they get into another close game like that? You mentioned just a moment ago, you don't see anything that hinders them from getting to Charleston, but might they encounter a close game along the way? How do you think Martinsburg would react in that situation?
That is a very good question. I have seen a couple teams at the state tournament in the past. Fairmont came in one season undefeated, had not really run into any problems at all during the regular season, lots of lopsided wins, and got into a close game in the state semifinal. And they didn't know how to respond to it, and they lost. First loss of the season. So, many years later, I saw Washington, which came into the state tournament with an undefeated record, run into Huntington, and Washington hadn't had any difficulty all season long, and things weren't going well against Huntington, and they didn't respond very well. Huntington won the game. So, yeah, it is certainly possible. I think sometimes close games can help teams. And I think Dave Rogers talked about that after last week's game, close game with Hedgesville. He said, I think this is going to help us. We know what we need to do, when things get a little bit tight. And that was a close game.
Cause we're out of time, man. If you break that snow shovel, right? If you break that snow shovel, let us know. We'll pass the hat and send you a new shovel.
Why don't you guys just come up and shovel for me?
We're doing good. We'll be up next summer. How's that?
Okay.
All right, Rick Kozlowski, the Martinsburg Journal. Always great to talk to you. We'll talk to you again next Friday night.
That's some extended.
Hey guys.
All right.
Had some extended time with Cos tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, real quick, we got a minute, just a yes or no. Do you think we should cancel basketball when there's no school?
No, let them play.
Bill?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. If you need to get games in, if it's all possible, get them in. Don't get them backed up.
Bo?
I hate when games cancel. I've been sitting at the house for 3 days, and if they can be played and it's safe, I say we got to play them.
Of course, if you go to a Christian school or a private school, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, that's
play them anyway.
That's true. But I think if you can get the game in, because a lot of times they'll cancel school. The weather's bad in the morning. By noon, it's 40 degrees and the sun's shining, and the roads are all cleared. So
judgment calls.
It is, and I think sometimes some of these counties take it to the max. And like I said, this time of the year, it backs your games up and causes hectic to the athletic directors and the coaches trying to get these games in. Bo, good to have you in the house tonight.
Hey, I've enjoyed it again as always, and I will be calling you next week.
Bill, good to see you again. Brian, it was great having you. We look forward to having you again.
You bet.
Again real soon.
I had a blast. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's pretty much going to wrap up our show tonight. For everybody in the back, for the whole crew here on Basketball Friday night, we'll see you next Friday night here on the Fast Break Sports Network. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Tune in next Friday for the latest high school basketball action from across the Mountain State. Visit basketballnight.com for our show archives, the poll question of the week, and the basketballnight.com scoreboard. Until next time, have a great weekend, and thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. The preceding broadcast was a presentation of the Fast Break Sports Network. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.